Fast forward 23 years, and we've seen what that promise and peril looks like. Amazing advancements and some concerning detriments. And now more than ever during COVID-19. And I want to give a shout out to my mom, Ann Reynolds, and board member, from being the very first person to really put her whole heart and soul into this mission with me. It was in 2014 that I began questioning the correlation between the escalating mental health crisis in schools and universities and students' digital lives with 24/7 connectivity and the expansion of social media. It was a question that not that many people were asking. To give you a couple of data points that have gripped me recently, the percentage of non-fatal self-harming incidents for girls 10 to 14 rose 189% between 2009 and 2015. While college students in one study reported experiencing depression, there was 40%, hopelessness 51%, and overwhelming anxiety 60% in the last 12 months. So my question has been, number one, what is going on? And number two, can we prevent some of this escalation by addressing digital overload for better tech-life balance? As I've investigated the impact of technology and social media on teenagers and college students over the last several years, sharing data and strategies with students, teachers, and parents, I'd forgotten to do one thing. I'd forgotten to literally pivot and turn to those very students for their own ideas, for their solutions, for their experiences. So thus, LookUp.live is all about listening to Gen Z. And our mission at LookUp is sparking a movement that empowers youth to reverse the negative effects of digital overload, find balance, and embrace the humanness of things. But we haven't done this alone. We have not created this mission alone. And actually, the three young women that you're going to hear from today were very early on my inspiration and true innovators in this space. So we're going to set the stage with Juliet Gildehouse, a senior at Phillips Academy in Andover, Mass. Sophie Ang and Hayden Wolfers, who are both juniors at Piedmont High School in Piedmont, California. They each bring their unique experience and lens on what they see in themselves, their peers, and their school communities. So I'm going to ask each of them to comment briefly for them. What is it like to be in high school in terms of your digital lives and 24/7 connectivity? And Juliet, we can start with you.
Okay, am I unmuted?
You are unmuted.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Susan, and I'm so excited to be here, and this is so incredible. Susan and I first started talking last summer, and it's just amazing to see what she's built this into. So thank you. In terms of what it's like being a high school senior, high school student, and living with 24/7 connectivity in this digital world, I think there's so many different aspects I could talk about, but I think most importantly, it's really important to recognize that my generation and high school students and middle school students too, and college students are in a unique situation with social media and technology in general, because as we've grown and developed, we've had this alongside us, and social media has grown and developed with us, and that's been great in a lot of ways, because as the primary audience targeted by tech companies and these social media platforms, we've had great agency in being able to shape these platforms and social medias into something great and something positive in so many ways. But that's not to ignore the fact that we've been forced to navigate uncharted territory, and there's no other generation that could provide us with insight and advice and guidelines to how to navigate our digital lives, because they haven't it didn't exist. And I think that's been really hard, and it shows in the struggles that teenagers in particular deal with nowadays. Everyone, but teenagers in particular, whether it be, struggling with the pressures of comparison culture, video game addiction, binge watching, information overload, productivity issues. It affects everyone in different ways.
Great. Thank you, Juliet. Sophie, you want to chime in here?
Hi. So for me, I mean, I've always grown up with tech. My brother has grown up with tech. He's younger than me. But for me and my friends, it was like we we're always on our phones. We're always Snapchatting each other, texting each other, Instagram, just because we love to stay updated with each other. But I mean, so Susan and I started talking 2 Novembers ago, probably, and then I started reflecting on my time on my phone and my time with my friends, and I realized that I'm not connecting with people face to face as I really should be. I'm not establishing these relationships that could really help me later in life because I'm spending more time on my phone. I was looking at my notifications all the time. And so I think that's a pattern that we see in a lot of high school students nowadays, is that they're more concerned with what's going on online than what's going on right in front of them. And that was really important for me to try and fix that issue. And then I'm also scared of how it's going to reflect on the younger generation, like my little brother, because he's really important to me. And he spends so much more time playing video games. On his phone, he just got, and he's in 6th grade. And I got like a flip phone in 6th grade, and he just got an iPhone 11. And I started getting really concerned about how younger generations are going to manage their screen addiction and how parents are also doing their part and helping their kids.
Great. Thanks, Sophie. And Hayden.
So when Susan came and talked to us in our class like 2 Novembers ago, like Sophie said, I was just so surprised by all of the facts she shared, and I realized how big of a problem this is for me and our whole generation, and how it's not getting the attention it needs to figure out what to do. So I just thought it was so interesting, and I really wanted to figure out how to improve the problem for myself and for everyone else that, like they've said, is experiencing the same situation. And I think the most impactful, the way that it impacts me the most is just because I always have access to technology, so it's really difficult to balance when to use it and when not to.
Great. Thanks, guys. So Sophie, can you focus in a little bit more on how is there an impact on mental health that you're seeing? Is there this correlation that we've been investigating between digital overload, social media, and your generation's mental health?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a correlation between mental health and use of screens. And I think a big one is how social media reflects on our lives. So for me, social media, it holds a lot of ideals that are really unattainable for people and that they shouldn't be trying to attain. Like maybe it's how an Instagram feed looks and where people are traveling, or maybe it's body shape. And so to me, those create a lot of mental health problems and a lot of just bad ways it's it causes people to think about themselves badly when they really shouldn't be doing that, because they're trying to measure up to these standards that really shouldn't be there for themselves. And I also think that screen addiction, it causes a bit of stress when we're always trying to be updated on our phones. But we shouldn't be trying to always 24/7 be checking apps and stuff. And that causes stress because of how connected we are.
Juliet or Hayden, did you want to add anything to that? Any perspective on that?
Yeah, I can. I definitely think, even more important than the data and the research that I've been exposed to through my work with Susan and LookUp about the correlations between, you know, these mental health struggles among teenagers, such as anxiety, depression. Even more impactful than that has been my own experience in looking at my school community and my peers, and like Sophie was talking about, younger students in particular, and seeing how it's affecting them. And I think it's not even a question anymore that social media in particular, and technology in general, really is affecting our mental health in a negative way. And so that's, for me, what really drove me to want to pursue this passion of mine, which is tech life balance, because what's more important than our mental health and our well-being, right?
Terrific. Great. And so all three of you are so passionate of being role models and change agents. So I just love a little perspective. We can start with you, Hayden, on why. Why have you made this your passion? Why have you taken the lead in this?
Sorry, I was muted for a second. Like I said earlier, I realized when you came and talked to us how this is such a big problem, and I think it needs so much more attention. And also, I'm working on a project that's mostly focused on 5th graders in upper elementary and middle school, because I think that, like, our age in high school, people are aware in general, or especially because Susan came and talked to us, people are aware of how big of a problem this is and how it negatively affects their lives. But it's, once you've developed these habits, it's more difficult to change. So I think it could be really helpful to try and teach younger children how to develop better habits before they really start to, like, get phones or use them much.
Terrific. So Julie, we jump in here if we have questions from the audience for these three.
Yes, that's right. So if anybody has a question, feel free to unmute yourselves. It's nice to put it on gallery view so you can see each other chatting. But feel free to unmute yourself, or you can post a question in chat if you like.
Yeah, I have a question, Julie, if that's okay. It's Nelson here.
Hey, Nelson is one of our board members, everyone, and he's in the UK. Go ahead, Nelson.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, just for all three, so please feel free to chip in. But the question is, what actually are they teaching at school in the US, at high school or at college, in terms of skills when it comes to emotional intelligence, face-to-face interaction, the kind of stuff that we don't really think of when it comes to the tech world, and like human skills. What kind of classes are attributed to that at the moment? You guys have experienced, and is there enough, do you think, or is it too heavy reliant on technology, or pure academia?
Well, at my school, we have a class called social psychology where we learn about mental health, and we talked a little bit about phones. But I think there definitely should be more because it's still a really big problem.
Thanks, Hayden.
Others?
We have a question regarding what it's like right now during COVID-19. Is it any different? How do you think this is going to impact teens today with regards to the tech life balance?
I think in terms of tech life balance in COVID, in this situation right now, it's pretty tough. I think, even myself, who, I take pride in having established a pretty healthy relationship with technology over the years. It wasn't easy, but I find myself falling back into old habits, and I definitely think it's gonna be hard, because technology right now is really our only way to stay connected with so many people that we love and care about. So we really want to use it, but I think the scary part is that all technology to some extent is designed to addict us. It's designed to keep the user on as long as possible, and that's really scary, because you can try to limit yourself, but when you're trying to connect with people and you find yourself on FaceTime, and then even apps like House Party, which is a video chat, have these little methods that they use to keep you on longer, and that's tough and that's scary. So I think it's definitely not great, but we're just trying to navigate it.
Great, and let's do one more, Sylvia. I see you have a question. Do you want to ask it, or I can read about it? You did have the similar question about the now, as we're all glued to the screen all day long.
Hi, my name is Sylvia. I'm a former colleague of Julie, so that's how I.
And a leadership expert.
So my daughter has 2 little kids, and she has, until the beginning of COVID, been able to keep them away from screen time. And now she's thrown her hand up and has kind of given up. And her kids are 8 and 4. And so she realized that sometime soon, screen time would become part of their routines. But now, especially the 4-year-old, it's like the next generation after Gen Z is now getting kind of a false start because of this situation.
Good observation. Thank you, Sylvia. We have one from Alex Drakowski, and I think then we need to move on to the next. Alex, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself? Do you have a
Sure.
question?
I was just curious, just given the last answers about what other companies are doing to keep you on your phone, to keep you engaged. I'm just curious, kind of what do you think the role of corporations are, in trying to get you off your phone while also driving value for their company and their valuation and shareholders and yada yada yada. What do you think their responsibility, should be?
Oh, sorry,
You can go.
Sylvia.
No, you can go.
No, I went last. There you go.
Okay. Well, for me, I think we can see a lot of corporations are focused on what they're bringing in, and I think it's not really their responsibility to get us off their phones, but it's children's and parents' own responsibility to learn what a good balance is for themselves and how it's affecting themselves.
I imagine we probably have both arguments on both sides of that coin. Alex, that's our next webinar, and you can lead that discussion for us, okay? Because that's a big one.
That is a
And
big
I know even through some of the design competitions, some of the students were considering advocacy campaigns, particularly at the University of Arizona at one point. Some of the students were considering advocacy campaigns as part of their pitch, but they pivoted from that idea. Anyway, we have to wrap up this session. It's being recorded, so I'm thrilled about that. Susan's going to introduce our next guests and presenters, and this is
Yeah, and I just want to give a special shout out. This is a bicoastal organization, and I have Sophie and Hayden here in Piedmont, California, the one coast, and Juliet on the East Coast, and just an exciting piece that Juliet is headed off to Dartmouth, so can continue working with the Magnuson Center and this crew here. So thank you so much for being part of this panel with me, Hayden, Juliet, and Sophie. And now it is my honor to introduce you to Randy Williams, the founder and CEO of Keiretsu Forum, that he founded in 2000, so 20 years ago, a global network of investors investing together. And Randy has really taught me over the last 2 years about entrepreneurship, about social entrepreneurship, about deciding between the two. And his Keiretsu Forum's unique way of listening to entrepreneurs share their ideas. So Randy, I'd love for you to give us a little introduction to what we're going to do today and why Mindshare.
Good morning. Can you see me and hear me?
we can.
Wonderful. Susan and Julie, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and it's great to see Ann and John in their living room too in Piedmont, California. I'm broadcasting here from Orinda, California. I went to Cal Berkeley, so I've gone a long way in my life. I'm about 10 miles away. But Kretzer Forum, fortunately, has grown to 53 locations around the world. Ironically, of the 1,700 fundings we've had, we've started introducing the theme or the narrative that you're talking about. Yes, we want to invest in companies at scale, but how are they making an impact? What are they doing right obviously in the marketplace in regards to this discussion? I think it was Alex, his narrative was very powerful. We need to start inserting that information to companies at scale. Yes, it's very important for them to win. We have to win too when they exit, but they need to insert the ideology. Says, listen, we want to do good in the marketplace. We want to do well, but conversely, we have to be very sensitive about our kids. And I have a 29 and a 31-year-old, and they're both in tech. And you know, they use it as a tool, but they also have their communities outside through sports and religion. My daughter is very religious, and she gathers all the time with her in the physicality, you know, physically. But you know, when we use this platform, it's powerful. But you know, we have to be very careful. And it's really sad to hear how much time you all are spending. But I try to use it carefully. But when I hear grandchildren or children are using 7 to 8 hours a day, plus obviously interacting in school online, it's tough. And I look back at my background, and I grew up in sports, and that was my community, and that's how we got together. Obviously, but anyhow, my perfect day is learning, and so we're blessed to have you here today, and I'm here to learn and enjoy your narrative, and so I can take it to companies that we fund. Now, a shout out to all of you. We have internships, paid internships around the world. We're from Seoul, Korea, to Istanbul, to obviously here in the U.S. We have 53 locations. So please get involved with Kretzer Forum in the future and teach us, because you know we are, and especially myself, I'm naive to a lot of things that Susan is creating great leadership around. We need to learn too. And when we invest in a company, we need to tell them, listen, what are you doing? We don't want a dopamine high. We don't want you to create a high with the, you know, obviously constituents or the customer. We want you to obviously do the right thing. So we need to learn from you. And that's why I'm here today. And I'm so happy Adam, as CEO of Kretzer Forum, is going to be emceeing along with Julie. And Susan, thank you so much for your leadership.
And is that transitioning to me, Susan and Julie?
Yes, sir. You are. It's all yours, Adam.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Randy, thank you. It's been a privilege. Randy built an organization from 1 chapter to 53 chapters worldwide in 26 countries. And I've been a member, founding members over the last 20 years, and was fortunate to exit a company about a year ago, and that I ran as CEO and president, and joined Randy's team to help his organization and globally. And through this, we meet, like some of the people you'll meet today, some great entrepreneurs. You know, when you look around and you see, just listening to these kids talk about the situation, and what really it's an acknowledgement to Susan and Julie to raise this issue up and help give these kids a platform to talk about these issues. I have 4 kids myself, 2 UC Berkeley who are actually home now. But it's made me more aware as well with my kids. But to give the young people a platform to allow them to actually be part of the solution is just outstanding. So, you know, shout out to Susan and Julie. You guys have done an amazing job. And it's so fun to see all the international people on here. It parallels Kretzer Forum. We're in South Korea. We're in London. We're in India. So and I see we have people from all over those great countries. So with that, thank you again. It's a privilege to be here with all of you. And our program now is going to transition to the meat of the presentations, where we're going to have, we have 5 companies that are going to make presentations. So we're running this a lot like we do with all our entrepreneurs that we invest in around the globe. And if you look at PitchBook, we're the #1 early stage investor globally. And so who knows, one of you may be in front of our forums, and we would love to fund great companies that come out of here. So with that, each team's going to have 8 minutes of core presentation, and then leaving 7 minutes for Q&A. What we would like everybody who's logged in today to do is really a couple things. One, it's you've received an email that you can log in and click to a Google sheet that is a gold sheet. And we want you to fill out that information for these great young entrepreneurs. And
Adam, I just put it in the chat box too. So everybody, the link is in the chat if you didn't get your email.
Perfect. So you didn't get the email, it'll be in the chat box. And please use the chat box between myself and Julie. We'll be monitoring that, and we want to capture your questions and make sure you have the information that you need. So Julie and I, through the Q&A, will be working together to make sure we get those questions answered. And we just want you to really share that information in the gold sheet for these great entrepreneurs. When the Q&A starts, when the presentations have concluded, we have some guest commentators and a wonderful lineup of guests who will actually ask the first questions. I will call on them to ask the first questions of specific companies, and then hopefully during that time, it'll stimulate questions for all of you. And we call this mind share. Please put your questions in the window, and let's have some fun with these great entrepreneurs. So with that, if there's anything that I haven't covered yet, the main thing is let's get those gold sheets filled out for these entrepreneurs and provide that information. And with that, we have Sleepy Pet ready to go.
Yep, we're ready to go.
Okay, so Sleepy Pet, welcome. And so I just want to mention your team, and Timothy, you look like you'll be doing the presentation, but your team is Maxine, Chloe, Winston, and yourself. And it's your school is Dartmouth College. It's a mobile app, and it's a digital sleep assistant. So I can guarantee you we're all awake right now, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to just do a shout out. We're all going to just take a quick moment and look up in honor of this great program. And so the floor is yours. You have 8 minutes, and you're going to hear Julie, all the entrepreneurs, you're going to hear Julie let you know when you have 1 minute left. So I don't want you to be alarmed and don't get off track of your presentation, but she'll say you have 1 minute. Floor is yours.
Got it. Thank you. I will share my screen for the slides, and we all will be presenting part of the presentation. Can you see my slide now?
Yes.
Great. So we're Team Z, and our product is the Sleepy Pets. As previously mentioned, I'm Tim, and here's our presentation. So our core concept is that Sleepy Pets is a cute virtual companion whose mission is to improve college students' quality of sleep and mental health by encouraging a nightly self-care routine as less reliant on phone usage. Indeed, the problem we're trying to solve with Sleepy Pets is that many young people have a habit of staying up late using technology due to anxiety and or boredom, a habit that's harmful to the mental and physical health of many youths around the world. According to statistics, around 97% of teenagers across the nation do not get enough sleep. For college students, that figure is 70%, with 82% of students believing that having lack of sleep have impacted their academic performance. Research from many fields have verified this, even associating sleep deprivation with poor mental health. One cause of sleep deprivation of youth is none other than technology usage. Over 80% of smartphone users use their phones within 1 hour of going to sleep. Over 35% go to sleep right after using their phones. It's been well established that technology emits blue light, which interferes with sleeping. Moreover, checking on social media through their phones often causes more social anxiety, which keeps many youths awake, let alone at night. In fact, many young people use their phones or other technologies right before they sleep, precisely because they want to escape feelings of worry and stress. But not dealing with them, as well as getting less sleep, only reinforces the cycle of low self-esteem and stress-induced phone usage late at night. Currently, many young people have no real tools to help disrupt that cycle. Technology has seemed to become part of them in order for them to feel whole and to forget about their day-to-day stress and anxiety due to their low self-esteem. Cutting technology out of their lives entirely is impossible. They need tech and self-care to get them to sleep more and healthier on a day-to-day basis. Specifically, they'll need a way to calm their feelings of worry and stress late at night so that they'll be empowered to sleep more, in turn have more energy during the day and thrive in their daily lives. And by doing so, gain healthier self-esteem and go to bed earlier with more positive emotions such as satisfaction and self-compassion. And that's where sleepy pets come in.
Hi everyone, hopefully everyone can hear me. I'm Chloe and I'm going to be talking more about our solution, which as Tim introduced as Sleepy Pets. So Tim did a great job outlining the problems, and basically Sleepy Pets is a virtual sleeping companion. As you can see, one sleeping companion kind of shown in our logo and very cute animation below. So we're going to take you through the target user for our application. So we're going to introduce you to Mark, and we have Mark depicted in an illustration. He is shown at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. So Mark is a college student who suffers from a bit of anxiety. He stays up late just scrolling on Instagram and playing different mobile games, as you can see in the 3 a.m. depiction of him. As a result, he's not able to get enough sleep. It causes him a lot of stress. It causes him even further levels of anxiety. And as you can see at the 3 p.m. depiction of Mark, he's just overall a lot less productive throughout the day. So as we can see through Mark, we have a need. And this need is establishing an anxiety-friendly way to help college students wind down at the end of their strenuous days. So what we're aiming to do is have college students be empowered to spend less time on their phones before bed and instead be able to set a sleeping time and be able to meet that sleeping time. Obviously, we're aware that college students are busy, they have to study, they have exams. So this is a constraint that we have taken into account. So this is why we have designed something for Mark, which is Sleepy Pets. And the reason why our application is very unique as a sleep assisting application is it's an application that helps you sleep that you actually don't need to use at night. So to kind of clarify a bit more on this, your Sleepy Pet is not only a companion for you, but it's also a personal assistant for you. Unlike real pets, it is there to take care of you rather than you taking care of it. So I'd love to take you guys through a bit more of the functionality of our application. So once you open up our application, you'll have a very convenient login system. You'll have social media logins or guest logins as well. And from there, you'll be able to provide your name, the type of white noise or background music you like to sleep to. You'll be able to set your intended sleep time. And then the most fun part, you'll be able to customize your own very adorable, very unique sleeping pet. So next, I'm going to take you through a bit of the functionality. So at nighttime, your application will have your Sleepy Pet on the screen. And as you can see here on the screen, it says, Mark, it's time for you to sleep. I'm feeling sleepy. So it's prompting you with dialogue to sleep at that time. So then the pet begins to get sleepy, it begins to yawn, and then it slowly falls asleep. And as you can see, it's saying, poof, good night. So once this occurs, the phone will have 1 minute before it'll basically shut down and all of its functionalities will be locked. So it's thereby preventing you from being able to use your phone at night, which is great because you don't need to do anything at night to not have the functionality at night. Your pet will take care of it for you. And then in the morning, your sleepy pet will check up on you and be able to give you feedback throughout the day. So in terms of interacting with the application in daytime, you'll be able to see a breakdown of your phone, of your sleep statistics and a breakdown of your phone usage throughout the day. And additionally, we have also included a social aspect where you can check on your friend's sleep status and also on their sleepy pets as well. So the result that our application will bring to college students is they will be able to sleep early at their intended sleep schedules and wake up feeling more motivated for the next day. To take you through our development kit, we will be prototyping using Figma, we'll be writing the code for the application using Swift, and we'll be doing project management using Trello.
Hi, thank you, Chloe. I'm Winston, and I will be explaining who our main competitors are. So Headspace and Calm, there are two apps that do guided meditations and tackle the problem of insomnia, whereas Pokemon Sleep provides an AR sleep experience, and they're aiming to make it similar to Pokemon Go. Hasn't been released yet. But I think our app is unique in the sense that it really tackles the problem of technology addiction, obsession, and tries to create this experience where users don't have to interact with their phone at night.
Hey guys, you have 1 minute.
So we did 2 rounds of user testing. We did a storyboard interview, and then next slide. We created a detailed prototype, and we asked users to give us some feedback. And they gave us pretty positive feedback. Next slide. So we have several milestones. We're gonna be participating in a pitch competition by Dartmouth Valley Lab and a startup competition from the Business School of Tuck. And then we'll be launching our app officially. So we need an estimate of 10K, and the finances will mainly be used for advertising, getting hardware and software, and compensating developers. So this is our wonderful team, and I will be glad to talk a little more about our experiences during the Q&A session. What can the LookUp community help us with? Mainly technical workshops and helping us build our brand.
Great.
Perfect timing.
Great job, team. Fantastic presentation. And I love the fact at the end, we always ask our companies to ask our STEAM members for resources. And that's a great question because there's going to be a lot of people that can help you along the way. And in your little tracking bubble, you'll have to add Keiretsu Forum. We'd love to see you in our investor network. So with that, our guest commentator, and as while the rest of you are thinking about questions for this very interesting company, our guest commentator is Harry Key. And Harry, if we can make sure you're unmuted, you're a co-founder of Motion App. You're also a junior at Dartmouth College.
I'm not.
No, sorry, that was my mistake.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say you've graduated by now.
Yeah, so I will just give an intro of myself. Graduate 2017 from Dartmouth, Math and CS. I'm currently the CEO and founder of Motion. We recently were in the Y Combinator Winter 20 batch. So we are working on this project that's very related to what everyone else here is working on. So I guess I will start with my question. Actually, before I ask my main question, I have a preface question. Are you guys looking to work on this like seriously as either a startup or a nonprofit, and you guys are actually looking to grow this, or is this like just like a side project for you at school, like a fun project?
Go ahead, Winston. You guys are unmuted, so you can speak.
So initially, before we joined the design-a-thon, we were like, oh, this seems fun. Let's go do some design. Let's work on a fun project. But now that we've gone through the whole process, we're actually quite serious about it. We really feel like this is something that could have a social impact. We kind of went through the slide quickly, but we're planning on creating a functioning prototype this term, and then we'll be participating in a series of pitch competitions. And then as for the future, we're not exactly sure as of now how far we're going to go because we're going to be graduating soon. But one option is to pass on the project to Dali Lab at our school and have other students at our school continue working on this project, or another option is for us to expand this into a startup. and work on this after school. Yeah.
Why does it take you guys, so I saw the timeline, you guys will have a prototype by the end of next term. Why can't you guys have a prototype in 2 weeks?
Oh, so for this prototype, I mean like actually an app that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You guys mentioned you guys will officially launch in a year, right? Like that's a very
Yeah.
long time. Like why can't you guys officially launch an app in like 2 or 3 weeks?
So the idea is like we're not planning to like launch immediately. We want to first do like user testing, like on campus.
How do you user test without launching immediately?
Oh, we can. Well, like the idea is we can. We're going to like launch a version of our app, but it's not going to be like a finalized version. So it's kind of like a prototype.
Okay,
like
so you will have a minimum viable product in the next.
Beta testing, but it won't have all the features like the social media functionality and all.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Just make sure you get our product there as soon as possible. Ideally within like 1 or 2 weeks. Like for us, like clearly we are working for. You guys aren't. But for us, we usually roll out like a MVP within like 2 or 3 days. And it's a like really shitty looking UI UX MVP, but you will never know whether a user would use your product until you get the product in front of them. Like the user does not know that either. When the user tells you they would use it, do not trust them because they don't actually know whether they will use it.
I see.
Second question is, why do you want to participate in all those like pitch competitions?
Tim, do you want to talk about this a little bit?
And then we have 2 other questions too in the lineup that are waiting to ask too. So you go ahead.
So the question was, why do we want to pitch this?
I think the question was, why would you want to participate in a pitch competition? Like right now, you're technically pitching this, but
yes.
Why would you?
Every fall term, our school, Dartmouth, has a pitch competition for ideas in the fall term, where a lot of to-be entrepreneurs would be pitching their ideas in order to get grant money, but also to get the Dali Lab's help to help, flashing out their project out. Dali Lab is a computer science lab, art lab here in Dartmouth that will help you with coding and programming your app or website, whatever it takes. But the idea is the first or second place will get the grant or the help from the Dali Lab, where I think will be really helpful for Sleepy Pets to have that grant and Dali Lab's help for that. So that's why we're participating in the pitch in the fall term in order to secure that additional help and grant.
Okay, cool.
Thank
that
you.
Makes sense.
Thank you, Harry. Appreciate the questions. And team, that was a great example of true Silicon Valley, like, what are you doing? Getting it done. 3 months is 3 years, right? Harry, thank you for your questions. We have 2 more questions that we're going to address here. And Julie?
Adam, we actually have 4. There are 2 in chat. So
okay, 2 in chat.
We have Benno, Alex. I'm going to go to Alex afterwards, but why don't we go Benno, Anne, Nikta, and Alex, and then we'll just keep our answers really short. We have 2 minutes to answer questions and ask them. So go ahead, guys.
Unmute yourself as well, so you're ready to go.
Benno, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, I actually had a couple of them, but I'll just stick with one. Did I hear correctly that you're going to actually disable services on the phone in the app at a certain time to encourage somebody to go to sleep?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and so is there any concern, or have you done any research about doing that with iOS? Because you're going to basically, the user's going to have to say, this app can control my phone, which can be a violation of Apple's terms. Have you investigated that at all?
We have not investigated the way that it connects on iOS yet. I've had experience with Android. Winston and I have experience with Android programming, but not iOS as of yet. We do believe that we will make it not disable all features on your phone, only disable certain features, and also when you can customize during the day, you should be able to choose which features you do disable, so it doesn't go completely cold turkey, but we do have to investigate more.
So there's probably a potential for you guys to use this, the in-product screen time capabilities like you would, a parent would with a child, like telling the phone or that child's phone can't be used. You'd have to create some kind of service account around that. And I would really do your due diligence on that if you're going to make this an iOS specific device, because Apple's very, very strict about allowing certain apps to overextend their reach.
Great, thank you. Great comments, great question. All right, entrepreneurs, quick answers so we keep ourselves on time. Susan, who's next?
We have Anne. I'm going to ask it for her because it's in chat. What happens if you override your pet's sleep needs? Is there a negative consequence, and what are the positive reinforcements?
Yeah, so essentially, I think because our target user is someone who is kind of going through anxiety, right? We want to take people with anxiety into consideration for this application. Ideally, we would not provide negative feedback for them, but we would focus more on the positive reinforcement. So I think that could be a functionality for the pet in the morning to be like, hey, you did not meet your intended sleep time, but that's okay. Like, today's another day. So we want to be very encouraging to our users.
And I'm going to jump in just because we are out of time, but there's another opportunity in the gold sheet. Well, you can do two things. You can put the your question into chat, because I think the teams would love any feedback and any ideas that anybody has. You can send it to me privately, or you can just put it to everyone or send it to the team. Or in the gold sheet, when you fill it out, there is a section for you to provide just general comments to the teams. So you can do that there. And so just going to move on to the next group. I'll turn it back to Adam. Go ahead.
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks,
and the gold sheet is a great resource for the entrepreneurs here. And I can see there's some great comments for the Sleepy Pet team. Give them your feedback, fill out the gold sheets, and great job, guys. Super effort. So we're going to move on as our LookUp team. Here, LookUp, you're not alone. Are you guys all unmuted and ready to go?
Ready to go.
Okay, super. Well, it's great to have you. So your team is Hunter, Julia, Cassidy, Jamie, and Rachel, and you're representing the Wildcats out of the University of Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Go Cats.
Right in the pack. Go Cats in the Pac-12. So you're raising mental health awareness, one cute sticker at a time. Wonderful. The floor is yours. You have 8 minutes to make this presentation, then we'll have 7 minutes of Q&A. The floor is yours.
All right, so I'm going to be sharing my screen today. My name is Julia, and here we go. So look up, you're not alone. That is our saying, and we're going to start our presentation off with Cassidy.
Hi, I'm Cassidy, and so we were given the problem to look at the digital overload, the link between digital overload and the hindrance it has on adolescents, specifically in their mental health. First of all, we want to say that technology shouldn't be seen as bad. We're not trying to put a negative light on it. In fact, we're trying to just exercise moderation, and we're just trying to be a friendly reminder in the process of things. When we think about like the root causes, we think about the development we've had since we were young. As I think her name was Juliet, she mentioned that we were literally guided throughout our lives, and we were not given any like manual on how to deal with something like this. So we're given tools, and we have to find them, and we have to work with what we got. So when we think about social interaction, we have to think about literally face-to-face interaction. And social media allows people to present themselves in a one-dimensional fashion, and it can create a facade. And so it's just the irony of disconnecting the new connection. And the contributing factor is that the drastic overload of technology, along with such an intense advancement within the last decade, it puts a lot of pressure, especially on the younger generations. And we have to be forced to catch up with this. And when we're given daunting statistics such as the bottom one, it's like, oh my gosh, how do we take on this project? And here are our solutions.
The way that we decided to take on this project was to create stickers that serve as like a physical reminder to spend less time on your phone and look up more. So we came up with this idea by surveying a bunch of students. We sent out a survey, we got about 51 responses, and the survey included a bunch of questions, but the one that really focused on the most was that we asked them if they use items like stickers to decorate their phones, laptops, water bottles, stuff like that. And 86.3% of the people that answered said that they do decorate their like laptops and stuff with stickers. And we noticed that just by walking around campus, our first meeting, we all were like, whoa, your stickers are cool. Like we just talk about that. So we were like, actually, let's turn this into something. So our project, we want to have all these designs. So on the right-hand side, there are some of our prototype designs. Those were our very first rough drafts. And we want that all those stickers, we want them to be made by students for students so that it stays relevant. So our like target audience would be college students. And we think that if these are designed by college students, they understand what they want, what they think is cool, what's trendy. So we think that if these college students will design them, then they'll be desirable, they'll be current, they'll be hip, they'll be cool. And another way we want to do this is by involving the art school at the University of Arizona, so we can have those students get the chance to like make a name for themselves and make a detail, make creation, stuff like that, so they can like get a head start on that. And then so the last part of our project that we think is really important is that the money that we make from selling these stickers, we want to donate towards mental health organizations to help further promote LookUp's overall message of improving mental health.
So with our group, it was critical for us to come up with an idea where electronic devices weren't used in a form of deterring phone usage. We noticed a popularity amongst college the atmosphere of stickers decorating laptops, water bottles, and phone cases, which usually sparks up the conversation of what does that sticker mean, or where can I get one like that? The stickers are unique because not only are the designs creative, but the message behind them is to stay off your phone. Each of the stickers are a unique idea also because it allows for collaboration and creativity from anyone who's inspired to share their design for the LookUp organization. Each month, we want to release a handful of unique designs from a various artists that will become a collectible sticker. Once the month is over, that sticker is no longer able to be purchased, so this idea will help it keep relevant month to month. So yeah, that's...
Yeah, so the big thing is that we wanted a reminder on your phone that is a notification, because we are getting notifications all day. So we wanted something that was physically on your phone that could help you. So now, how was our product tested? Our original plan was to test the prototypes with people around campus. Some of the people that we interviewed, they were like, we're very interested. We want to help you out. Let's test these stickers. And as soon as we started getting this going, COVID-19 happened and our whole plan was interrupted. We've only been working on this since about January. So we weren't able to actually get the stickers out to test it on all of our fellow college students. But so far what we've been doing is at home, I am currently at home, and my sister and I were able to test out some of the stickers. Obviously I'm a little biased because it's our project, but on the right-hand side is a picture of my sister's water bottle. And I was like, hey, just like test it out, see what you think. And after cause she was very wary about the idea in the first place, but then after like a week or so, she was like, I actually really like this idea. She's like, can I keep that sticker on my water bottle? So she actually ended up wanting to keep that little phone guy on there, which I thought was really cool that she enjoyed it. She's like, yeah, me and my friends would love this. Like, she's also a college student as well. So that was the only way that we were able to test it so far. But our plans for the future would be to come back to campus in the fall. We would like to create a club on campus. We'd call it LookUp Tucson. And the people in the club, they would be like the first people that we would test all the stickers out on. And then after that, they could help us spread our message around campus. We can start actually like creating these stickers and like really getting it out there. Oh, I just actually, my bad.
Hi there. Before I begin, I just wanted to say a quick disclaimer. I received a notification during Adam's introduction that had unstable connection. So if there is any technical difficulties, I do apologize. But when we first began this project, we asked ourselves, what is success to us? What is the definition of success to us? And to us, success is an attitude, not a destination. It's having a peace of mind with knowing we did our very best to make a difference in the world. For our group specifically, with using the stickers, success will be tracked and assessed by the demand of the stickers created. We believe that if we create a high demand for the stickers, we will create a high audience that could empathize with digital overload and the negative connotation it has with mental health, or the negative connotation it may have with mental health. Our group will create a stipulation between the stickers and the students on campus. We feel that this is the best way to make a difference in someone's life. This difference can be as big as perhaps aiding a person in their fight against mental health and digital overload, or as small as maybe having a person admit they have a problem, or maybe have a person admit that they are on their phone too much and that they do take away from the little aspects of life you can enjoy when you just stop using your phone when you don't need to use it.
So now let's talk money. That's what I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering here. So the good thing about our project, actually, well, before I start, we have one of our team members is not here today. His name is Hunter. He had some last minute family issues that he had to deal with. So he's our big money guy. So I'm just trying to cover for him. I don't know exactly a lot of the exact numbers. He knows more, but from what we gathered from the information we've shared is that our product is like very viable and it is feasible. So we want to create cheap products. And as this product goes forward, we actually want to start introducing more products. So things like those sticky phone wallets, like the things on the back of your phone, or reusable cups, coasters, koozies, stuff like that. So just other items besides stickers that can also help you remind to stay off your phone. So these would be all cheap products to make. And as far as stickers go, we found a website that is for about 2,000 stickers, it would be like $42. So it is very cheap to create these stickers, which is why we believe this is a good project. So it would be about 2 cents to create one sticker. We would make each sticker about $1.50 to $2 so that people will still want to buy them. And then also there'd be an option to donate as well to our cause. And we would donate majority of our profits that we don't need to make for production and marketing and stuff like that. We would donate that to the mental health cause. So we would just start doing that. But yeah.
So when we talk about connecting this whole idea back to the main message, with the donating profits, we would go into funding for a connected cause. So we would start this out on our campus. It's called CAPS, and it's just basically a mental health facility or any kind of resources that students need. Any profits we make off the stickers / merchandise will go towards funding for mental resources that students can't afford. And this
Guys,
doesn't necessarily—
30 seconds. You have 30 seconds left, sorry.
Yeah, so that's the main gist of that part, with just connecting our cause to it.
So this is our team. These are our roles really quick. We all met through Blue Chip.
And this is how we believe LookUp can help us. I'm gonna speed through it just because we're short for time. Anyways, we believe that we could use a marketing expert to help us promote the product outside of the campus, outside of the University of Arizona specifically. We need help with promotion or production, the stickers and the product printers. We would also like a financial advisor to help us with the costs and donations with the subscription process, because we believe that the subscription process is going to be a big impact and a big part of both our contribution and your contribution towards us. And overall, we just want emotional support from LookUp, and we want to ensure that we're in this together and that we can work as a team. Anyways, thank you guys for your time, and now we open the floor to Q&As.
Well, you're not alone, team. Great job, super job, and what a fun thing, right? A non-tech solution to a technology problem. Fantastic. As we're queuing up some questions for you already, so be ready. In advance of that, we have a wonderful guest commentator for you who's going to ask the first question. It's Ann Blackburn. And Ann currently serves on the board of the Hopkins Center for the Arts at Dartmouth College and the Herring Center at the University of Washington, and has a great background in retail and marketing. So Ann, welcome, and your first question. Can we unmute Ann?
There's Ann.
Ann, I just unmuted you.
Okay, got it. Thanks. Yeah, I think this is I love that it's so low tech, and I think hand-drawn now kind of garners more attention because of its retro factor, and people, are so used to digitally printed graphics that this really would stand out, I think. I also have 2 college-age kids who I know are very connected to their stickers. One of them had a computer die, and she didn't want to get a new computer because she really loved her stickers that were on the back of the computer she had. So I know it kind of represents your values, and there's a strong emotional connection with your stickers. So I'm wondering, I know this kind of works in that it sparks a conversation. And I'm wondering if you somehow would provide talking points to people who grab one of these stickers, and how you would do that. And also, would you consult with healthcare professionals to produce those talking points?
Yeah, so our main idea right now, so we would start at the University of Arizona on campus, which is why we're really sad we're not on campus right now, because that would really help our project be moving forward. But we would start by tabling on campus. We have a gigantic piece of grass in the middle of our campus, and people are always out there tabling, clubs, trying to get your attention. So we would start there on that level. And we would have talking points there. We would have like a sign, people there, and that's people from our club would help us table as well. Another thing we really want to focus on, like connecting like everyone on campus. We would go to like the CAPS, the counseling and psychiatric services at our school, and get some information from them on how to like talk about mental health in a way that is productive and has all the right language and stuff like that. So we want to use all of our resources within campus so it all stays interconnected. But yeah, we'd also were thinking that like a big social media platform, even though I know it seems counterproductive, but we do need social media to help promote our product. So we would like to have social media to help get out our message as well.
Great question and great answer. Julie, who do we have next?
We have one from Sean Smith, another board member of LookUp and an expert in cause marketers.
Great. Sean, you're unmuted, and your question.
Great, thank you. Thanks, guys. I saw this presentation a few weeks ago. It's a great idea. It's a great concept. My question is more around the measurement. Right now, I think you guys identified that you would track the success of the program by the number of stickers that were passed out. And I would challenge you to dig deeper on that, because I think you can. There may be ways to do a pre-survey and a post-survey of the student population, obviously a representative sample of the student population, on their mental health, on sort of their mental health checklist, if you will, pre-passing out the stickers, and maybe at the end of the year or something to see if there was any correlation in the number of stickers that were passed out and the way they were kind of categorizing their own mental health. Or maybe you partner with, I'm sure there's a you guys have a mental health facility for students, support system on campus. I wonder if you could track the number of visits throughout the course of the year and see if there's any correlation between when the stickers were going out and when those visits started to decrease. There's got to be some way, I think, to track the success of this that's deeper than just the number of stickers that you give out.
I definitely agree with that statement, because obviously mental health is not something to take so lightly, especially if there's negative effects happening on such a pandemic level with so many young generations. It's like, how do we measure something so sensitive and so impacting? So I definitely agree with you. We need to find multiple ways to measure the success.
Great question, great answer. And Julie.
We have one more from Benno Chapman again. Go ahead, Benno.
Benno,
it's a quick one.
Hey folks, so I did get a little confused. I think it's a great subject, and I love that you're coming at it from a non-technical viewpoint, but I got a little confused. Is your product the sticker making kit, or is it the outputted stickers?
So it would be the outputted stickers. So we want to have like a contest where the art students from our school can make their designs and we can have them vote on it. So we would send out to like a lot of people on campus. They can vote with stickers their favorite. Then that design will be released by monthly. And then like these stickers won't be able to be sold after months. So that makes people want to buy them and want to have them. So it would be, but we would have that aspect of having like a competition, of having like even the local high schools or middle schools get involved with creating the stickers. But we would be one overall sticker like per month, or a couple of stickers per month being released.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Well, great job. You look up, you're not alone team. Fantastic. Keep going. We loved your enthusiasm and appreciate the great presentation. And thanks for the great questions. Keep the questions coming. Go to the Gold Sheet and support these entrepreneurs with further resources, information, commentary, and interest, and we can help them along their way in their journey. So thank you very much, and let's queue up Quell if we can. Quell team, are you unmuted and ready to go?
Absolutely. Here, I'll share my screen right now.
Okay. As you get set up, Team Quell. Well, here's one of the. We know we're talking about the challenges with technology, but the beauty of technology is this team changed their headline just a few minutes ago because they came up with something more brilliant. And so we got that information through technology. Quell's headline is Fostering Quellness. And this team is made up of Ida, Kate, Jesse, and Lydia. And they're representing Dartmouth College. Welcome, guys. And their product type is a mobile app. And the floor is yours. 8 minutes for your presentation. We'll have 7 minutes Q&A.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Adia.
I'm Jesse.
I'm Kate.
And I'm Lydia, and we're Team Quell. 3 in 4 college students look at their phone the first thing when they wake up. Out of 8 to 28-year-olds spend over 44.5 hours a week in front of a screen. And 77% of parents say that teens get distracted by the devices and don't pay attention when they're together. And so we realized that this was a problem. And so we sat down with college students to learn a little bit more about what was going on. And this is what we heard. I start writing an email and then end up watching cat videos on YouTube. As soon as I unlock my phone, my thumb automatically moves to Instagram. I set screen time limits on my phone, but the message pops up and I just ignore it. And finally, I don't even know why I go on Twitter. It's not even that satisfying. And so from all these interviews, we were able to take away a few things. First, people do not want to be addicted to their phones. Opening social media has become an instinctual behavior. Using social media to pass time is now the norm. And social media use comes at the expense of other wellness activities. And so we took these takeaways and we really got to narrow down on who our user was and really what they needed and how we could help them solve the problem. And so we landed on college students completing a task on their phone who open social media out of habit need to put their phone down once their task is complete so that they can stay productive. And so how do we break this habit of opening social media?
All right, so based off of our user research and interviews, we determined that our solution would have to make the user rethink going on the social media app, provide an effective prompt without making the user feel too bad, and give the user agency to change their behavior. This all comes down to the goal of intentional use of these apps. It's all about making the user conscious of their own actions. So now we'll introduce you to Quell. Quell is a mobile app and web extension. Its primary interface is a pop-up screen that appears upon opening any social media application, such as Instagram, as you can see on the slide, or Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, etc. So let's take a look at how it works. If I, for example, wanted to go on Instagram, I would be presented with a pop-up screen with a prompt that provides an alternative activity besides going on the app. So in order to proceed to the app, I would have to retype the prompt. Here, it says, instead of calling a loved one, I am choosing to go on Instagram. Once I type the sentence exactly, I can click Start Scrolling and proceed to the app. But if I decide I no longer want to go on the app and instead want to take up the prompt suggestion, I will click Never Mind and the app will close. So again, every aspect of Quell, down to the wording, design, and the user experience, is aimed at getting the user to recognize their own behavior and give the user the agency to change their actions. And we've ideated a bunch of different prompts, so as you use Quell, they will cycle through and be unique every time. There's so many alternative activities that we can do instead of going on social media that are both mindful and productive, and these are just a few.
Absolutely. So when we were designing Quell, we really had to think, what makes Quell different from the competition? So the first app we looked at that our users, our college students and professionals were using was Screen Time, which tracks the time users actually spend on these different applications. But we realized that Screen Time really fails to actually hinder the social media use. You can just swipe up on the notification and it goes away and you can continue on Twitter or whatever app you're on. Quell would actually create friction in the process of opening these apps and using this social media to have users start and rethink their use. The next app we kind of looked at in the general wellness sphere was Headspace, which is kind of a meditation app that I know other groups have talked about. But it only addresses the symptoms of this rampant social media use. It actually doesn't target the root issue, which in Quell would target that root issue of the social media use. So you wouldn't even need to get to the point where you're having this anxiety and stuff to use apps like Headspace. The next app we looked at was Cold Turkey, which, similar to its name, completely shuts off all social media use and just blocks these apps in web browsers and on the phone. But we realized that was completely unsustainable because users actually, in a lot of business and student aspects of their lives, they actually need to use some of these social media, and it's fun to connect with friends and take a study break. And Quell would foster the healthy awareness around around the social media, and it would actually give users agency to actually make their own choices. Yeah, like this last one, Focus, was an app that created inspirational quotes to send to users, but it also completely blocked that social media use. And like I said, Quell would give the users agency to actually make their own choices. So what have we done so far? After winning LookUp.live's design challenge at Dartmouth earlier this school year, we've hired a Dartmouth developer to make this Chrome extension, which is on the store now. We had our first round of user testing where we distributed the web extension to our friends and family. It is actually currently, we did some iteration, and it's in the second version, but it's just being uploaded to the Chrome extension store right now. So this is kind of the first version. Of course, it doesn't look very pretty, but we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from our users, and we'll continue to work on the web application and put that into circulation. And from there, we're working on the Android application and the iOS application.
Awesome. So getting into the nitty-gritties, as Jesse said, we have a web extension out there. We did a round of iterations and like made changes, and we kind of wanted to start with this and finish as user testing because it was an easier interface to start with rather than like an application which has its issues. So that's why one of our main goals first is to finish the user testing and then release the web extension after we've like got good feedback and send the link out to the Dartmouth community. We hope to spread awareness, develop the mobile application during that time, and yeah. So we realized that our expenditure model is very front-loaded. It's going to go into the spreading of awareness as well as the development of the application. The web extension was not that hard to make, and the mobile app development, we realized needs a lot more resources than we anticipated. The permissions part of the application to be able to show a pop-up on the other screens is the main problem. And we've spoken to professors at Dartmouth who teach mobile application classes, as well as just like done a lot of like primary, secondary research. And we noticed that it's hard to make that. So that's why we want to spread awareness through merchandising and events and take our time in developing it, as well as spread the website first. And we hope to partner with institutions to provide Quell as a resource for students. Once we have this tested out, we think this would like foster mental wellness, and institutions would be willing to partner with us to provide this as a resource to all the students. We also hope to spread this and like expand the demographic to a younger age groups to prevent the like habit forming initially as well. And we think that like parents would be willing to like pay for premium accounts to be able to have a certain amount of control. And of course, we hope to we're really grateful for the LookUp network and hope to use it to get a step in the door of like other colleges and expand in that sense with like UCSD or Arizona.
And so why are we doing all of this? Well, in the end, the real long-term goal is to strive for that behavioral change to really eliminate that habit of opening social media without thinking. And we really hope that people will start living in the moment. And so we're Quell, and we hope to foster your Quellness. And this is our lovely team. So thank you very much.
Great job, Team Quell. Nice job. Fantastic. So we're going to get our guest commentator queued up, which we're grateful to have here today is Kana Hammond. Hopefully we're getting you unmuted. And Kana is co-founder and executive director of Y-Core, a social impact boot camp for young professionals, and has been involved in the Stanford Start X Accelerator program, which we're familiar with. And so queue up your questions for Quell, and then we'll start with the first question from Ms. Hammond. Welcome, Ms. Hammond. Thank you for being here.
First of all, great job, you guys. In addition to running YCore, I was formerly a product manager and also invested in ethical tech at a mid-year network. And you're touching on so many of the things that have come up so many times in conversations I've had about balancing effective user-facing technology with this tech addiction problem. So you're off to a great start, and I've been really impressed. I have two questions. One is a bit more high level, the other is more tactical. So first I wanna know, in your concept brief, you said that your ideal user base is other students at your school or across college campuses like yours. And I wanna know, how do you think college life would be different if even half of your classmates were using Quell?
Absolutely. I can start with that. I think I know this sounds a bit like antiquated, but I've talked to a lot of my parents and just kind of their experience in college and interacting with people as young when back in the day when they were our age, and they can kind of just speak to having less of those like pressures through social media. And of course, we don't want to go back to the 1980s. We're very happy in 2020, but I think there are a lot of those aspects of life and interaction that we can draw upon, of having more spontaneous interaction with friends, of having, just chats and discussions, and having it be like less hectic and fast paced because of the use of the phone and of these devices. So I kind of think that's really what we're drawing upon. I happened to go to a boarding school where we weren't allowed to take our phones outside of our dorms, and much of that was just very fluid face-to-face interactions. And I really appreciated it. I think that's changed. I've seen a change as I've gone to college, and I think we can still be current and live a life that's very integrated with technology, but still have an emphasis on those face-to-face interactions and discard the majority of the use with that phone.
Great. And my next question is about metrics. So first of all, how are you defining success? Because I saw the screen, there is a text field and there are two buttons. So of course it's going to be easiest for someone to just tap one of those buttons. I could also see a world in which even if you take those buttons away, somebody just writes like an X or a meh, or doesn't provide the kind of thoughtful response to the question that you're asking that I think you're going for. So I want to know more about how are you thinking about the metrics? Which kinds of taps or responses are you prioritizing? Do you hope that people close the app? Do you hope that people write something thoughtful? What's your plan there to understand and interpret something that could be easy for a user but may not be what you're going for?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And in terms of like, if the user would be able to put X or like something that's like maybe less mindful, the goal is that the user actually types out what the prompt is saying, so that they not only read the prompt but also type out, instead of calling level 1, I am choosing to go on Instagram. And that's like part of the psychological behavior change that we're trying like to push our users to really challenge themselves with. And so someone who like wrote X would not be able to start scrolling on Instagram. Like they really have to make sure that they're reflecting like as mindfully as we want them to. And then in terms of like defining success, ideally we would really want to see more and more people over time start clicking the never mind button, so that they like, the more people do that, the more that they're making conscious decisions like, oh, like that's our goal of like, I open social media for what? Never mind. I really don't want to do this right now. There are other better things and more productive things that I could do.
Great, thank you.
Also, just adding a little, sorry. The other thing that we did research a lot on was like the statement. I know we didn't stay on that slide a lot, but the statement is just things like it kind of like points to like making a conscious decision. So that's why it says I'm choosing to, and that's why we want them to type it exactly. And even the like placement of the buttons, like we've said, never mind. And like the whole point is like not to make them stop using it. It's just like just adding that like stop and think about it, like just because like we know that it wouldn't work as well if we like wanted to cold turkey. Like it would be like we just want to add that friction is how we would. Yeah.
Terrific. Great questions. Great answers. Thanks, guys. Julie, do we have a question?
We do. I believe Cassidy has a question. Cassidy, you there? You want to unmute yourself? No?
I do not. I don't.
Oh,
know
okay.
where that
Sorry,
came
I
from.
saw your hand up. Sorry, it may have been from
No,
the
it's okay.
previous. I'm still new at this facilitating Zoom thing, so I apologize. It may have been an old hand up. I did.
Julie, Eddie has a question.
Oh, perfect. Okay, go ahead.
Everyone, I'm Eddie. I'm also one of the youth innovators. So our product that you're going to see shortly is actually pretty similar to this. So I was just curious also about metrics. So the people that you did roll this the plugin to, did you get any numbers on like how many people actually wrote it, like wrote the phrase, how many people said never mind, or how many people just in general removed the plugin after downloading it?
So the initial user testing that we've done was kind of working more on how if it was like how effective it was in like preventing them from like how it looked, how if they like even felt like they understood where they have to type it, what they have to do, and that was more of the user testing initially because we were concentrating more on like if it even like is solving the purpose that we wanted to, and then going into the details of that's the second round of testing that we're doing right now, and that we're starting to do right now, which is going to like see the exact numbers of nevermind, like how many people press nevermind and how many people actually wrote the phrase. And if you have any ideas of better ways to like count that, because like that's something we're arguing with right now, that would be great feedback actually.
Okay, cool.
Great. Thank
We
you
have
for the question.
two more questions, and
Great.
I know these are going to be good. So Harry has a question for you guys, so get ready. And then Nelson, and that will be we'll have to end after that one.
Great.
Hey, guys, really great job in like finding the problem. I think like how you guys like why don't the other apps work? You guys nailed it. That's totally why they don't work. And your solution is actually very similar to our solution. Like basically what you're doing is like our prototype too. Yeah, it's great. It's great. In terms of how to track, you guys probably want to use amplitude, but my question is, why do you guys want to go mobile instead of doubling down as a Chrome extension? Because if you read my comment before, like your last slide shows like, oh, mobile Instagram, and then you pop a message on top of it. That will not work. It's almost impossible to do that technically. So given that you know that, do you still want to go mobile, or do you want to double down that as a Chrome extension?
So yeah, that's like when I was talking about the like issues we're facing with the mobile application, like that's completely right. Like a lot of like the permissions are just going to be hard and like almost impossible in some cases. I was talking to a professor and he told me that a lot of times like if you contact Android, and he was talking about how like they can open up permissions for you if like say the Chrome extension becomes more popular. I don't know a lot about it, but like that's what the professor was trying to express to me. So like our goal was to first like concentrate a lot more on the web extension, and then like during that process like see if this is like possible. I realized that iOS is a lot harder, so like the image might be a little confusing than Android.
What your professor meant for Android is that if you request access, you can access Android's screen time API, but you still cannot place your image on top of it. Whereas for iOS, it's just completely impossible. You have to really hack the system around. Just FYI, we did a lot of research on this.
Yeah. No,
that sounds like a good follow-up.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think
great
actually, yeah, going off what Adi has been saying, I think we've found actually great success within the Chrome web extension just by use. I think I'm using Quell just for my day-to-day activities. I think what we were specifically designing for, what we hoped, was that like time when you're like in line for food and you're just kind of bored for 5 minutes, so you pull out your phone just go on Instagram because you have nothing better to do. And we want that suggestion of, oh, you actually do have better things to do. There are things you can do with your time. Your time is valuable. You don't have to just waste it instinctively on social media. So that's what that's kind of what we wanted. That's what we envisioned out of the app. Of course, there are technical difficulties. We've heard we've heard similar comments from people throughout the process, and we will have our developer work on it. I know you've done extensive research, so we may end up really doubling down on that, like you said, on that Chrome extension, because it has been successful so far. We'd like to see, try and explore what we can do and what metrics and how we can explore that that mobile space. But if it ends up not being as feasible as a more bolstered Chrome extension, that will probably pursue more of the computer way.
Great job, guys.
Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
In the interest of time here, so Harry, great resource. You guys collaborate maybe offline on this. We're going to go to our last question, quick answer, and great job, team. Here we go. Julie, last question.
Nelson, go ahead, Nelson.
Thanks. First, an observation. Well done, guys, for quellness and coming up that practicing what you preach. Love your boldness there. Very important attribute to have going into the business world. Question is, how does Quell make money?
So our plan was to be able to partner with institutions, so like different colleges, for the schools to provide Quell as a resource to their students itself, because as a college student, like, we are our own user group, and we realized that for us and a lot of our peers, we wouldn't be willing to pay for an app to do this. But we were thinking, like, at Dartmouth, we have a student wellness center that has a bunch of resources that they partner with other like institutions or organizations to provide for their students, which is something that we envisioned for Quell, which is why we've mentioned that, like, expanding our network and being able to partner with other institutions would be really important to get our foot in the door to create these relationships with the schools themselves, so that through that we could foster the relationship for them to, like, kind of sponsor us to provide Quell as a resource to the students.
As well as that, like, so basically it'll be free as a resource to students, but like colleges and institutions that want to have Quell as a resource will have to like have a certain way of, like, basically they would have to pay for it. And like the whole idea of expanding to the younger demographic is that, like, parents would want more control, and they would be more willing to do like parental controls and like have a premium account which would be paid, versus like college demographic wouldn't want to.
Great. Thank you, guys. Team Quell, great job. Super. Dartmouth College is proud. So thank you very much. And we're going to move on to our next presentation. Super job, guys. Challenge Cookies. Are you guys, Team Challenge Cookies, are you guys teed up and unmuted and ready to go?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Great. Wonderful. Welcome. Great to see you. So it's Fortune Cookies Promise Tech Life Balance. I love that. I love Fortune Cookies. Sometimes if I get a good one, I'll stick it in my the back of my phone when I get a good message on a Fortune cookie. But so your product type is awareness and behavior change campaign, and Nikita and Sarah, it makes up this team, and you're from the University of San Diego, the Toreros. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
So hello, my name is Sarah Badrani.
My name is Nikita Shabazz, and we're the University of San Diego team here to present our idea, Challenge Cookies. So before we begin, I wanted to introduce Sarah and me again and share a little bit more about our experiences. So Sarah and I are both commuter students at USD, and we have family living in other parts of the world. So technology has played an important role in our lives, providing us the opportunity to connect and communicate with our friends and family, to maintain and nurture those relationships, specifically through weekly phone calls. Yet we've realized that for many of our peers, they often view their social media applications as sufficient means through which to communicate and to connect with their friends and loved ones. That liking a picture on Instagram or retweeting a tweet on Twitter or posting something on Facebook, that these are valid connections, but we think that they're rather more superficial than meaningful. That's why our goal when we were thinking about our idea was to promote meaningful relationships, where we define meaningful relationships as relationships grounded in personalized dialogue and care, both with and without the use of technology. We asked some of our peers about their tech-life balance relationship, and we're actually quite surprised by the results in that many of them admitted that they were addictive and genuinely wanted to stop. And this made us realize that in our solution, it had to be something that was as interesting or as exciting as the technology itself in order to part students with their phones. Before we thought of our idea, we also wanted to set some guidelines or boundaries for ourselves, some values that we wanted to incorporate into our idea. And the first was that we didn't want to use technology. And for us personally, we just felt like this was counterintuitive in that we would be using technology, we'd be using technology to address technology issues, and so we just didn't want it to be in our idea. The second was that we wanted to make it fun and engaging for students. I'll be the first to admit we're a hard crowd to please, and so we wanted to be something that we would actually find interesting, and if so, that would actually promote students to engage with the ideas. And third, we wanted it to make it accessible to many, if not all, students on our campus. So some of the other ideas that were presented were, for example, having a dinner where students weren't allowed to use their phones, and we just felt like this was a great idea, but a self-select group of individuals, people who already cared about these issues, would come to those events, and those people who really needed to be challenged would not. And we also wanted to make it accessible to a variety of type of students, so different majors, different interests, different identities. So from the starting football player to the person who doesn't leave the library, from the engineering student to the history major, that all students could engage with this concept. And these were pretty strict limiting guidelines and boundaries we put for ourselves, but we did come up with an idea that meets all three of these and that does address meaningful relationships. And that idea is challenge cookies. So challenge cookies are fortune style cookies, but instead of a fortune inside of it, we have a challenge that relates to tech-life balance and promoting meaningful relationships, both with and without the use of technology. So why challenge cookies are unique? We believe that because it meets those three guidelines and boundaries that I mentioned earlier, instead of using technology, it's food, a little bit of quid pro quo. You get something to eat and you also get a challenge to complete. It's also fun and exciting because fortune cookies are personalized challenges, and there's an element of surprise. When you open that cookie, you have no idea what's inside, and you feel like something unique for you has been chosen. And it's also a very community shared experience in that you look over someone's shoulder and see what they got, and you get to keep your strip that's inside. And third, that it doesn't require you to attend a certain event, download a product or application, or hold any kind of special knowledge, that this is accessible to all individuals. So how we envisioned challenge cookies at our university was that we would order 500 challenge cookies and hand them out to students on a given school day. And that in addition to handing out the challenge cookies, we would have in the evening a panel mixed of students and administrators and faculty where they can talk about what a tech-life balance means to them. And we wanted to have this aspect within our idea because we wanted to provide a more academic, more in-depth look into tech-life balance for those who were interested. And we believe that this issue is something that should be discussed more on college campuses, and we wanted to provide that setting. And actually, Sarah and I had made everything ready to promote this challenge cookies in our university this spring semester. So we had created 500 cookies with 5 custom slips, as you can see down here. And we had messages like message a friend today and ask them how they're doing, walk across campus without looking at your phone, spend 1 hour straight without going on social media. And we had created these shirts for members of our team who were going to pass them out that day. And we had a speaker and everything, but we're looking forward to doing this again in the fall semester next year. How it will be tested, so we want to do in-person surveys and a point system. So the in-person surveys would be asking people immediately when they get their challenge and open it if they would actually be willing to complete it. And this will allow us to gauge people's immediate reaction to the challenge cookies. And also we want to combine Olay points for students, maybe turning in 3 to 5 challenges to get 1 Olay point, which is a point system on our campus.
And with that, I'll turn it over to Sarah to talk more about funding and target user.
So when looking at our target audience, we hope to focus on anyone ranging from middle school to college and beyond. We realize that interest in addressing and seeking a solution in this issue is not just from administrators, but students themselves. This can be seen in one high school in Carlsbad, in which many students noticed the negative effects of technology use, specifically social media. It started to take a toll on their sleep, academics, and social life. With that being said, we felt like middle school, high school, college, and beyond would be a good audience. Next slide, please. As Nukta and I conducted further research, we realized there is a lack of ideas that combine both food and technology as an opportunity to approach this everyday issue. We are aware that LookUp.live does offer daily challenges, but unfortunately, students often do not read their emails and lack the motivation to do the certain challenge. We felt like challenge cookies is a unique idea because not only does it solve the technology issue, but it also does so in a way that individuals already enjoy. The surprise aspect to our idea further motivates individuals to open the cookie and read the message that is inside of it. Next slide, please. For us, success isn't immediate. We are aware that this idea might not stop the behavior altogether. However, we believe it will allow students to start considering their relationship with their phones and how to reach a tech-life balance. We are aware that individuals might not do the proposed challenge. However, we also realize that this act of opening up the cookie and taking the time to read the message will spark a thought, no matter how big, about their tech life and whether it truly is maintained. Ultimately, that is our definition of success. Next slide, please.
You guys have 1 more minute.
Thank you. Based on our research, we cannot stress how feasible it is to have these challenge cookies made. As Nikta mentioned, we made 500 cookies with 5 custom slips for about $250. For the next 2 years, we would need to spend approximately $3,000 to $5,000. In the next 2 years, the funds would essentially cover the making of the fortune cookies. With these funds, we also hope to add more customized messages in order to further stress this idea of a tech-life balance. With this money, we hope to create more fortune cookies and implement them around college campuses. Next slide, please. Our goal is to get challenge cookies at as many universities across the nation within the next few years, but we need your support and expertise. Through project management experience, we hope it will guide us, specifically in being able to promote the challenge cookies and how we should go about implementing our ideas. Through legal knowledge, we want to make sure our idea meets all guidelines and everything else in terms of legality is correct. And in terms of connections, we hope we have these in order to further promote our challenge cookies. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Great job, Challenge Cookie team. Wonderful job. And anybody who's been in college, food is a wonderful incentive to get, at least I remember as a college student, to get me to do anything. If there's food wrapped around it, could always have that, and cookies let alone. So very creative. And so I'd like to bring on our guest commentator while the rest of you think of some questions for Challenge Cookies team. And that guest commentator is Samantha Carpenter. She's a West Coast Program Manager at Magnuson Center for Entrepreneurship at Dartmouth. She's also an entrepreneur herself. She played a strategic role in the launch of Y-Course, which we introduced with our last wonderful guest commentator, Ms. Hammond. So Samantha, the floor is yours for the first question. Thank you.
Hi, morning y'all, or at least it's morning here on the West Coast. I'm in San Francisco, so great to be talking and asking the first question for West Coast team. Really excited about that. And just wanted to say thanks so much, Nikta and Sarah. I wanted to just say, I love that you guys started with some guidelines and that in those guidelines you included fun and accessibility. I think that just sort of talks to how you're thinking about the product as sort of how it engages with people. I think it's also really, really cool that you had your team slide very early on in your pitch deck. That's something that investors look for. So huge props to doing that. I also I got to sort of read your concept paper last night, so I had the benefit of doing that a little bit earlier, but I loved how you included the element of surprise. I think when you open a fortune cookie, you can't not read your fortune. So I think picking that as the food that you wanted to use to sort of bring people together, and again, using food instead of technology to sort of help with that relationship building and maintaining, super cool. One of my questions is, you're taking a product that exists already and you're altering it. And I've actually seen some cool things done with fortune cookies before, and I think it's an awesome concept. How are you all thinking about marketing your product and potential partnerships?
Sarah, do you want to touch on the marketing, or I can?
I can do it, yeah. So in terms of marketing, we were hoping to, this kind of goes into our funding idea, but we were hoping to kind of promote these challenge cookies via universities and on campuses. And through this, we hope to raise, the first year it would be for free, obviously just to kind of spark interest and to show like, hey, this is an idea, and to allow people to realize what it is. But then the other years, the more we progress, the more we're going to start charging people. And with that money, we hope to bring it back into the organization, as well as donating some of it to organizations that kind of hone in on improving mental health.
Yeah, and I also really like your question, Samantha, because we've been already thinking about ways we can expand the challenge cookies. So for this first batch, we put very simple challenges in them, or very feasible challenges, I'd like to say, so that all students would be able to do them. But we're thinking later on of doing an easy, medium, and hard batch so that students can choose the level of challenge they want to engage with. And we're also thinking about other food products we can put these challenges in. So I know my mom grew up in Germany, and so we'd always go there, and there were these things called Kinder Surprise, and so it was like a chocolate shell, and then inside there was a toy, and that was the most exciting thing for me. And so maybe finding different food sources, maybe chocolate, maybe different kind of cookie, and so we are very excited about expanding it in that way too. So thanks for bringing that up.
Great question, great answers. Thank you, team. Julie, we have any questions in the queue?
We do. Sylvia at Friesendorf wanted to ask a question. It may have been related somewhat to what you just asked, but Sylvia, I don't know if you have a different version or if you had another question.
Yeah, well, the version would be to make the cookies a little more interesting, because I find fortune cookies very uninteresting. And so if you can sprinkle some coffee beans in there or something that would appeal to people that are probably always in need of extra coffee. But you addressed it already in a way by your thinking about other ways that you can add those challenges. So nice idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to, if I could jump in, one of the groups that Susan and I explored partnering with that we still hope to do so next year, and this is for actually the stickers team and your team, is Active Minds, is a club on 485 college campuses. So if you think, all of you even, as you think about how you might expand your programs to other universities, there are these very well connected, already networked clubs and network systems that have similar visions to you all. I mean, I could see even you and the stickers team, the USD and the stickers team collaborating a little bit too and helping each other out. But that's an interesting way as you think about marketing, is what channels are out there that you can leverage to get your products and your concepts out to market. Samantha, did you want another question in there too? I know you had another one.
Yeah, I was actually, so I think this is a question that could probably be asked of many of the teams today, but I really specifically, because you're dealing with a food product that potentially has an expiration date, and now we are in a crisis where you can't necessarily sort of kick off some of your initial plans, but I think you had said you had already produced some of the challenge cookies. So how are you thinking about potentially pivoting your initial sort of sharing those cookies and sort of getting them out to your audience now that we are in a global pandemic?
Yeah, so something about the fortune cookies, the reason we used the site that we did was that they gave their fortune cookies individually wrapped, which I hope they all are like that, but this one specifically, we want to make sure that they're individually wrapped. And I believe Sarah can confirm this, but that they are storable for up to 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so that was something that we were considering, but given that we checked the store life of these cookies, we feel like it's pretty safe for now, but we do want to make sure, maybe get a lawyer on the team to ensure the liability aspects of food related products, because that was something we did think about. So if you're on the call, we'd love to hear from you.
Great.
All right, guys.
And so maybe we'll conclude it there on questions, Julie. And
Yep, that was good.
Great. Thanks everyone. Great questions, great answers. Team Cookie, Challenge Cookies, great job, guys. And we're going to move on to our next presentation, which is Nudge. Is the Nudge team prepared and unmuted?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name's Eddie, and I will be sharing my screen today.
Great, Eddie. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
We have Eddie and Hannah, and you're representing the University of Arizona as your school. Headline is Meditation Meets Data, and your product is Nudge. It's a mobile app, and we look forward to hearing your presentation. The floor is yours.
Great. Like I said, my name is Eddie, and this is the Nudge app.
Yes. So how many of you have thought of finally going through that wanted social media detox, or not worry about your likes on your childhood throwback picture, but you just can't succeed? Well, we have a solution for you. Hi everyone, I'm Ahana, and this is our team, the Nudge app. So the concept, we are a platform that believes that mindfulness and meditation philosophy would be helpful in curbing your device usage. So our mission is to develop users' awareness towards device usage and to provide tools to curb behavior in real time. We've also focused on healthy exercises that promote mental well-being. And another thing that we really focus on is interaction with our physical environment. So the problem that we're facing is digital addiction. We have mental health problems, we have procrastination, we have cyberbullying, and all these are really relevant for our generation especially, and that's what we are targeted on. So according to statistics, 95% of the Americans own cell phone, and if we wanted this problem to be solved, so that's why we are looking at a technological solution to this problem, because we are fighting fire with fire, and the more audience we have, the more we could make sure that we can help everybody. So the goal is tech-life balance, which is using tech as a tool to engage with your environment and enrich your lives, not to take away from it. And the interviews. So we did a lot of interviews, and here are some of the things that we got to know about. Some of them said technology makes me lazy and codependent. Another of them said that I have many conversations with students about technology, and they feel they just can't live without it.
Okay, hi everybody. Like I said, my name's Eddie. So I just want to dive right into the platform. Just to break it down as simply as I can, we essentially have two main functionalities and kind of purposes with this. And one really is to bring awareness towards device usage. And two, we do that by providing quick, easy, and satisfying brain healthy exercises. So to dive into the features here, this is the onboarding screen where you are prompted to sign up or log in. Here's just a quick breakdown of the features. And here you can see just a little mock-up of restrictions. So you're able to limit yourself from using your phone. You can do temporary lockouts. You can look at your device usage. You can even compare it with other people that you know. And then another feature of the app is to have mindfulness or progress reports. Essentially, they tell you, how many mindfulness exercises you've done this week, how your device usage has changed, kind of allowing the user to really get get an understanding on how they're progressing through their goals here. So here is an example of some of the exercises that we thought about including. So here you have a simple breathing exercise. Here you have a simple body scan exercise. Here's just a little illustration of what that exercise would look like. So for the breathing one, you know, the circles would expand, you breathe in, and then they contract and you breathe out. So this is something that we currently are seeing in apps right now, so it's not entirely new, and it's kind of where we drew our inspiration from. And here I'd like to talk a little bit about the nudges. So this is what we feel is kind of like the main feature of our app, or really what we think would provide the most benefit here. So to put it simply, they're essentially just gentle notifications that notify the user when they're using a specific app, and prompt them essentially to either do a mindfulness exercise. They can silence their phone, they can just say no and exit out of it, or they can exit out of the app entirely. So here the example, it says, looks like you've been on Facebook for 30 minutes. Would you like to take a break? So you can click the mindfulness exercise, and if you did click the mindfulness exercise, you get this little pop-up window that shows the exercises that you've seen before, alongside some others that we've included. Here you can see that you also have the option to add any app that you want to include or for it to nudge you on. You can set the time of the nudge, you know, every 30 minutes. So let's say you're on the email app for 30 minutes, you get this little notification. So I'll go back here. And it says, again, hey, like you've been on your email for a little bit, like, would you like to take a break? So I think the purpose with this is we didn't want it to feel like it was super aggressive or forceful really in any way. We wanted this to feel like an app that was working in the background, you know, something that you didn't really have to pay attention to, but it would be there when you actually really needed it. You know, when you've been on Instagram for 3 hours straight and you don't even realize it, and then this thing pops up and tells you, hey, it's been this long, and you're like, oh, well, actually I should maybe take a step back and do something else. And also another thing I would also like to talk about is this geolocation. So this is another neat feature that we thought about implementing, and essentially all it is it allows the app to know if you are within the proximity of a specific location. So let's say you're at a restaurant, and the app notices that you've been using your phone at a restaurant. It says, hey, it looks like you're at a restaurant. Would you like to put your phone down and just enjoy your meal or talk to the people around you?
Hi everyone, I'm Alana Allen. I'm also working on Nudge. So these are a few of our competitors, just because they're in the same industry as us and they focus on the same aspects we included in our Nudge app. We saw their features in the market as features people wanted and they had demand for. So we decided to incorporate a little bit of each app and make our app something similar but yet unique. So you're probably thinking, if we have all of these existing apps, why are we making another one? Well, essentially, it's eyeballs. There's a race for attention because everyone with a platform wants people to see their content, and this is a fun and interactive way to do so. Using this need for attention, we can use technology to introduce something good and move users to live in the now. There's a trend between mindfulness and mental health with productivity apps. Mindfulness increases almost 50% yearly, along with an increasing amount of science dedicated to it. Social awareness of it is also rising. People are also using productivity apps more as well, and there was a 135% increase of usage of these apps in 2018. So who is this for? Well, anyone really can use this app, and anyone who has a device and believes they dedicate too much time to their social media. If you're interested in meditation and mindfulness, if you're aware of your mental health standing, but also it's for anyone.
Okay, so I'd like to highlight a little bit of the next steps here and kind of what we've identified that is necessary for us to really move this product forward. So first is capital, obviously. So this number here, it's a rough estimate of what we believe would cost to develop an actual working prototype. And the goal here really is to develop this prototype, launch it out to a few of our friends, a few people that we know, and then, get some information on how they've been using it, gather that data, gather the working prototype, and then take it to investors to actually be able to present a compelling pitch. So next is engineering. So neither of us are engineers. So this is a rough estimate, and I think after listening to Harry here, it seems like this probably could definitely be sped up a lot faster. But to be honest, engineering and coding, this is something that our team is currently in need of. So here's a quick little launch strategy. So our plan initially is to roll out in a small and kind of tech savvy region. We don't want to do a full blown out launch right away. So we want to have our working prototype, and we want to launch it in small kind of controlled types of stages in order for us to really isolate how users are using this, not spread ourselves too thin right away, and really hone in on what features of this app people actually are using and really care about. So monetizing, so we thought about, how we can make money off this. So we were thinking about having a subscription model. It could include a larger selection of exercises, curated challenges, and even potentially coaching sessions. All right, Hannah.
So here are some of the milestones that we thought, and here the KPIs for success. We thought if we could get 5K downloads within 6 months of launch, we would think that this is successful. Also 30-day retention rate of 42% of our users, and 55 to 60% of our users, if they're daily active users, then we would feel that yes, we are on the right track.
Just very quickly, because I know we're running out of time here, but scaling. So like I said, we're thinking about a controlled rollout in regions, bit by bit, testing and developing as we go along. And also with a focus on using neurological scientific literature to really guide our exercises to be able to provide the most amount of benefit. So here's the team, here's me, and I have led the design for this as well as strategy.
Great. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
We've been focusing on the mental aspect of it. So with my major in biomedical sciences, I've been looking at the neurological approach and just the analytics of it.
And
Go ahead, Hannah.
So I'm Hannah, and I'll be looking at the marketing and the community engagement.
Okay, and this is the final slide. So like I said, we are really in need of a developer, some person who can really help us spearhead the development, mentorship, grant funds, and the network that LookUp can offer. Thank you.
Great job, Team Nudge. Fantastic. And way to ask for resources. There's some tremendous talent in the room and a lot of great people. And it's always great to ask for resources and help. We do that with our entrepreneurs all the time and encourage them to reach out and do that. So terrific job. And as we queue up questions, I want to introduce our guest commentator who's going to ask the first question. And welcome Laura Vale Wooster. She's a LookUp board member and her own social entrepreneur. She spends her time advising startups, working on nonprofit and corporate board work, and in fact, launching her own entrepreneurial venture here in 2020. And Laura, welcome. Thanks for being here. And your first question.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You're good, Laura.
Okay, great. I'm first of all, I just want to say how honored I am to be on the LookUp board with Susan and to be behind this mission and to see all of you and what you've been presenting and thinking about. It's just incredibly impressive what you're doing. And I also want to thank you for taking our minds off of COVID-19 for 2+ hours. It's really like to be thinking about this and the future is just so wonderful. So thank you. Nudge, you did a fantastic job on your presentation. I love your idea. It's really incredible. I come to these things with sort of a marketing background. That's where I spent most of my career. So I have two questions. One is surrounding the activities that you're thinking about. I'd love to know a little bit more about that. I think you only gave sort of one example, the breathing example, which is similar to maybe, you know, I have an Apple Watch, what my Apple Watch tells me to do, and Calm and some other similar type things. But it seems to me it's wide open. And do you plan to ask others and maybe about what kinds of activities would be interesting enough to take them away from their social media? That's my first question. And the second, real quick, is just how do you plan to market this?
Yes. Yeah. So going off of the exercises question, yeah. So really, right now we are definitely in a kind of exploration phase with that. These exercises that we did provide on here were just kind of pretty basic and pretty common, and at least to like meditation exercises. So like you said, the breathing exercise, the body scan would just be, you know, a simple like guided, just like a guided meditation. You plug in your headphones and it's just a voice guiding you to, you know, bring awareness to different parts of your body. We were thinking about doing like an interactive thing, like a visual thing that was like calming. So really, we're kind of in an exploration phase in that sense. And our goal really is, once we roll out our working prototype and once we do our first couple of launches, we're really gonna survey and really talk to our users and just get a better understanding of like what actually works for them. As far as marketing goes, I think we were thinking about so rolling out, like I said, in small regions, and maybe like talking to schools, talking to organizations within schools and like clubs, kind of like some of the clubs that some of the youth innovators on here have started, and just trying to really get this idea into the hands of people who have a network of other people who could be interested in it.
Great. Thank you. Great questions. Great answers. Susan, any other questions in the queue? Julie, any?
Harry, did you?
I had a thought that actually came from Danny Meringue, who works for Balance app, and she was talking about their company. Every day at 4 o'clock, the bell rings, and they all go do a 3-minute plank. And they were doing this in the company, and now that everybody is virtual, they still have a 4-minute ding, and everybody does a 3-minute plank. But I was thinking about that may be a creativity piece that we can help develop with you of some, you know, Gen Z specific activities that are really generation specific and have a bit of levity in it and fun. So that was just a thought that I had to make it unique, but also to make it unique to your generation, because there is some data saying that some of these apps are really not made specifically for high school and college students, but really are made for an older population, like Headspace, like Calm.
Right. So we had planned on making this more customizable for the users. Say I like being outdoors and going hiking, and it's a beautiful Saturday, and I'm on my Instagram for 2 hours. We could probably get a notification saying, hey, you've been on Instagram for too long, why don't you go ahead and take a hike or a walk? We were just planning to make it more customizable, but we still have to explore that.
We have another question. I'm going to say JDim, but I don't know. I know that's not your real name, but that's your code up here. So if you want to jump in, go right ahead.
Awesome. Thank you so much, team.
Oh, Jesse. Oh, there you go. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Sorry, my code was a bit confusing. Yeah. Hi, team. That was a great presentation. Learned a lot. Really excited to see what you guys are doing. I just had a question on the user testing for Nudge, considering that you don't have a prototype yet.
Yeah, so as far as right now, I think the only form of testing we've done really is just showed the mock-up that we have to like our friends and stuff, and I've gotten that feedback. But yeah, I think the goal really is to get a working prototype, get it in the hands of people, and just kind of see how they use it. We aren't there yet, but we hope, hopefully after this, we can get connected with different resources and really push that forward.
And if I could just jump in for a quick second here with, as this is our first year, we are a work in progress ourselves. As we've said many times, we're building the ship as we sail. And the teams competed in many different ways over a wide time frame. So all of our University of Arizona teams finished on April 10th. So they just found out they won on April 10th. And then we're told, you gotta be at a showcase in 2 weeks. So they may not, so if their ideas aren't as fully developed as others might be, I give them such credit for doing that. And others like Quell, who've been so patient because they were told they won last November. So we've learned at LookUp, but I give these guys a lot of credit for where they are. All of them know that there's a lot of work ahead and they're willing to do it. So that's inspiring. Any other question? Oh, Harry has a question. Here it comes.
Hey, what are you guys actively doing in terms of like trying to get a technical person? I think the most important thing by very, very far for you guys right now is getting a technical co-founder, right? So
Yeah.
what are you doing to get that person, and what are you offering?
I mean, right now we had a previous team member who unfortunately couldn't continue with us. And we only found out like a couple days ago he wasn't able to continue. So he had some friends, that were coders, and he's a computer engineer major, and he definitely has a better network of computer engineers who could potentially get on our team. So we're going to try to see if we can leverage his network and potentially leverage the network on this meeting. And as far as offering them, some kind of compensation, we haven't gotten there. We haven't really thought about that besides just how much we think the app is going to cost. But yeah, this is definitely something that we should start thinking about.
Cool. Sounds good. Just FYI, when you onboard a technical co-founder, always offer equal equity as everyone else, and also hiring a developer will not work for early stage startup like yours.
Gotcha.
So don't even try to hire a developer. You need a technical co-founder.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Well, great advice, Harry. And that's a perfect time to make sure that we mention to everybody who's a part of the presentation today, fill out your gold sheets. Go to the gold sheet, provide a resource. There's questions in there for you to answer that we can provide back to the entrepreneurs. And sort of in closing, unbelievable job. I thought all the teams, you guys were terrific. I've thoroughly enjoyed listening. You're on an important mission, and I was grateful to be a part of this. Susan and Julie, thank you. I'm going to hang on for the rest of the program, but I'm going to hand it back to you, Julie, and thank all of you. I'm inspired by the entrepreneurs. There's incredible people on this call. Make sure you reach out to them, entrepreneurs, and we look forward to seeing you at some point at Keiretsu Forum and see if our investors can fund you. And anybody on this call, you're welcome to connect with us. I'm Adam at keiretsuforum.com. Happy to provide resources, connect you to our network globally. So enjoy the weekend, stay safe, be kind and optimistic.
Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Adam. Well, I know I was thoroughly impressed, and you guys, great, amazing job, all of you, and a special thank you to Adam and Randy for helping us facilitate this, because it really, I think, enhanced the presentations and the engagement. So, and we've learned a lot along the way, and are going to continue to learn more. So now I just want to share my screen for one quick second, just while I make an introduction here. There you go. There you go. There you go, Alex. You're nice in everyone's face right now. So
God, I'm so sorry, everyone.
Fun. It's like a movie star. Especially if you have big screens. Anyway, Alex, it's really amazing to have Alex with us. He is an inspiring young entrepreneur. He's one of the notable Forbes 30 under 30s, which is quite an accomplishment in himself. He's the founder of Ulingo, or co-founder, I believe, of Ulingo, and it has the wonderful experience of having an idea, building an organization, making it happen, actually starting at a really young age, which he'll tell you about, and then actually selling it and staying on to help it succeed, and then helping to do even more and starting up more ventures. So I will let Alex tell his story. We appreciate you, Alex, for being here with us. I know all of us up and down the age group have a lot to learn from you, and look forward to it. So I'm going to stop sharing and give you the full screen to chat with us. So we have Alex Jakowski, folks, and we will have time at the end for a few questions if you want to.
Wonderful. Julie, thank you so much. And, everyone, Julie, Susan, and Laura for inviting me, connecting me with this incredible program. As a collegepreneur, student entrepreneur, just a couple of years ago, it's really inspiring to see what you guys are doing at various different stages, from back of the napkin to ready to hire technical co-founders to looking for raising capital. It's inspiring to see, and it's really incredible the ease of creating businesses, not building them or executing and making them successful, but how many tools are out there, and the level of entrepreneurship at such early ages is really incredible. And so just really excited to be here. Thank you so much. What I'd like to do in the time that I have is tell you a little bit about my story, so you can avoid all of the pitfalls that I had building a company in college, and share a little bit of how the way that I viewed entrepreneurship, being a founder, creating a company changed, and the way that you work, which has a lot to do with the LookUp kind of mission, and really just try to give you guys all the resources that I can to make you successful, because that's the beauty of entrepreneurship is founders try to help each other grow and be successful. So after this call, I'll leave my email, and just reach out if you have any questions. If I can help in any way, please let me know. So just for some context, I'm 24 years old today, and I started what would become Ulingo when I was 18, in high school, actually, when I was touring colleges around the country, looking at pin boards. Whenever I go to a different university, I'm sure you have them at your campuses that have seemingly thousands of flyers on them, to the point where it doesn't even, I just marvel at what people can fit on a corkboard. The original thought when I was 18 was, wow, when I go to college, I should put this online. It makes way more sense to put this online. And that was kind of the original concept. And so when I enrolled in college, the original name was Pinboard U, and I wanted to replace these. And I had this vision of having monitors across all of campus that would replace these pinboards, make it more sustainable, reduce waste, etc. And with that basic concept and learning through the entrepreneurship program during my freshman year, we're able to secure our kind of first pre-seed capital to fund the business. And it kind of was the first mistake that we made, which was, I was passionate about the concept. I had a network of people who would introduce me to technical people. And as Harry said, hiring employees doesn't really work, and neither does contractors. Ulingo was built for its first 3 years really on the backs of contractors who felt like team members, because we would work off a $16,000 contract for 2 years. There was this buy-in and equity, but at the end of the day, you don't have that kind of same stake in the game of having a technical co-founder. I was a sole founder when I built Ulingo for 4 years, and I believe the only reason it ended up becoming successful is because of the co-founder that joined, named Ethan Durham. Later on in the business, building startups is extremely isolating, especially if you do it on your own. And so I love seeing everybody's teams on this call. There are so many entrepreneurs who build things on their own for a variety of different reasons. And to me, it's the most difficult thing, not even just the level of work, but it's isolating. It's lonely. You have nobody giving you really feedback. You have mentors and advisors, but it's not the same as having a partner. So after we raised this kind of initial round, hired contractors to build a product, hired designers, and we launched it at Chapman University in kind of testing. And we got some compelling numbers of this this pinboard concept, but we really found that the classifieds, the buying and selling, creating those posts were what was getting most of the traction. Now, I'm sure at all of your respective schools, you have met somebody, heard of something of a Craigslist for college. I don't know if you have. I'm assuming, you know, many people, when they first want to become entrepreneurs or have a business idea when they get to college, they think Craigslist for college because they see it all around. It's something that they interact with on a daily basis. Kevin Systrom from Instagram, first business he started was SU Post at Stanford, which was the Stanford classifieds. But the reason that none of you really probably know more about Craigslist for college is because every single one of them have failed. It's the first idea people have. They all approach it the exact same way. The need and the demand is there for a product like it in the market, but everything is all about execution. I personally believe there are very few unique ideas through all of civilization, unless it's actually building brand new technology, especially in hardware. You know, in the software space, a lot of people think of the exact same idea, but the difference of being known for it and using a platform is in the execution. So we had so many different competitors and alternatives and people that have done it before in the Craigslist for college space. And, you know, as we built the business, we realized that something had to change in order to make it successful. And so after my sophomore year, we had raised a little bit more capital. We had invested in a mobile app. You know, we rented out the bars. We got the brand ambassadors. We did what every single entrepreneur trying to market to college students did. We did the social logins. We got the merch. I mean, I'm like out. My house was filled of boxes of cups that said Ulingo, and my friends still have pens and chapstick and bottle openers, because that's what you think. You think you grow your brand, you get the stuff, you give it to people, and that equals engagement, right? They're going to download your app and they're going to keep using it. But frankly, you can rent out a bar and have people download your app to get in. The chances of them going back to it again are slim to none. And so, you know, as we continue developing the business, no matter what good feedback or validation from users when we told them about the app, or even when they used it once, we couldn't prove a business model that would actually be successful. And that's another thing that I think is really important when entrepreneurs think about ideas is you can have an incredible idea, but that doesn't mean that's a good business. And you should think about, how do you want this idea to translate? Is it a nonprofit? Is it a passion project? Is it a, you know, something that's just you want to do? Or is it a business that you can create a model around and build it up? And so, you know, as we kept ideating and really burning capital, it came to a point where we realized what we were doing was going to fail the same way everybody else had failed. And we would go to investors when we try to raise emergency capital, and they would say, "I see the dead bodies." Verbatim. They'd say, I see all the companies that have failed trying to do what you do. And no matter what small feature you add to be a differentiator, it doesn't change the way you're approaching the market. It doesn't change the way that you're trying to build this business. And so our big aha moment, our big everything changed moment, was when we took a hard look at, why has everybody failed? Or why are new ideas coming all the time in the same space, but they're not getting anywhere? And so we started to look at who really is our customer. College students are using our platform. We're building it for college students, but where are the universities in this? And I actually heard a presentation earlier, I think for the sleep aid, thinking about if college students are your customers, and you're going to pay a premium to get them, and not only to get them, but to retain them. Because if you're not doing something sexy and communication, house party, Instagram, etc., the chances of being able to get that college student organically at a low cost and actually build, scalable unit economics around that is going to be difficult. Not impossible. It's going to be very difficult. So think about in any B2C business now that there are so many options for people to download apps. Phone real estate is so expensive. Daily usage of anything is so difficult. Who is your customer, and what is the best way to get in front of them? And for us, we realized marketing to college students, there are users, but is that the most effective way to get them to use something for their collegiate lives? And so we started to turn to the universities and think, is this something that the universities would buy and put in front of their students? And that was our aha moment. That is what changed our business, because once we started looking at it at that end, we could find a way that we could have licensing structures over 3-year contracts that could anchor the economics of our business, and then charge transaction fees on completed transactions through our platform. And once you identify the right customer, the additional products and business model opportunities and everything flows so naturally. So we started off as a peer-to-peer marketplace, so students could buy and sell to each other. And so think of it, Craigslist for college. But originally you would log in with Facebook, and we'd see if you go to a certain school and allow you in. By turning that to universities, we would integrate directly within single sign-on. So you log in with your student ID. We can make it in a really extremely customized solution on a per campus basis that took the product value to a new level. And then as we launched on campuses, our customers, the universities, would say, hey, we love this platform. What else can you do? And that's what expanded our product to do peer-to-peer transactions, student organization membership dues and payments, university departments, from your 5K run registration, event registration, meal plans, until we found ourselves, almost accidentally as the central marketplace for a campus where the daily commercial activities are being processed. But as we were working and developing this and pivoting the business, what I really realized was not only was building this isolating and difficult and challenging and frustrating and depressing at probably more often than not. I equate it to rowing, a crew, if any of you are familiar. They say it's about 265 hours of training for every 2 minutes of racing. And for me, that's kind of what it was, for 265 failures for that 2 minutes of success until you realize you have to do something again and build and build. But it made me think about work in a different way, because when I was in college building this, I would do the Snapchats of me being in the office till 1 a.m. to say, because it was a cool thing that I was working and other people weren't, or I'm an entrepreneur and I need the world to know that I work hard, and that's what defines me as an entrepreneur. I work insane hours. I live an unhealthy life, and that's what defines me as an entrepreneur. And there's Alexis Ohanian, the founder of Reddit, has spoken a lot about this concept of hustle porn, they call it. And if you're familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, Elon Musk, they all say they're working a minimum 100 hours a week. If you're just sitting there doing nothing, then you're failing and you're not building your business. And I experienced that. I experienced being in an office by myself, packaging gift bags to try to get students to download our app, creating all of our product roadmaps for a team that was contracted out and didn't even exist, and spending the time almost for the sake of spending the time. And so when we made this pivot, we let go of all of our contractors. We moved our operations from Los Angeles, where I was at the time in school, back up to San Francisco. We got an office. We hired our first in-house engineering team. I took crash courses in engineering because, as a non-technical founder, as a non-technical team member, if you're in a leadership role, you have to be able to speak with your engineers. You have to be able to challenge them. You can't read their code, and that's totally fine, but you have to be able to speak at their level to be able to really build a technology business. So after all of these transitions, we started to find our footing. And when I moved our office to San Francisco, it's where I met my co-founder, who happened to be wearing a Chance the Rapper hoodie. And we both love Chicago rap. And that's how it started. And he ended up starting off as an employee, building front end as a front end engineer, totally transformed our business in a matter of 3 months during this pivot. And at that point, we had no choice. We had no choice. Not only has he become my best friend, one of my best friends, but his ability to transform the business from just being a sole founder doing this on my own to a true partner who has an impact in the business was a game changer. And I'll say to you guys, as you build teams, some of the best advice I've gotten is your true business partner is somebody that never wants your job. You never feel like you want their job, and vice versa. And that's when you don't have a lot of the power struggles, because you respect the other person's ability to get things done to the level that you're not going to do it yourself. You need them as much as they need you. And of course, there's going to be overlapping of skills. But that's the best way I looked at it, because I sure as hell don't want Ethan's job, and Ethan sure as hell doesn't want mine. And so, fast forwarding, we launched at universities, started generating revenue, good transaction numbers. And for the sake of time, I won't go into all the specific steps, but after building for about 6 years, we went out to raise a Series A, and most of the education investors and companies that we would talk to said, we'd much rather, go through acquisition now. You guys are in a prime time where we can give you the channel of universities to deploy the technology out to, opposed to grinding and building and risking over the next 5 years to what do you come out with any different. And so at that time, we had some difficult decisions. Do we want to sell now? Does it make the most sense? Or have we peaked our value? Or what are the risk rewards? And everybody's going to have a different feeling on that. But for us, higher ed was a very difficult business, especially as a college dropout. Selling software to universities was always an interesting experience, because after about my junior year, we pivoted this business. I left LA. I also didn't go back to school. And so I always say I wasn't a dropout, because I do intend to go back, but that's mostly what I say to my parents. So, after the acquisition, we ended up having about 6 companies that we were negotiating with. And that was one of the craziest experiences of my life, the due diligence process with huge companies. After it's a team of me and 3 people building technology and changing our emails, so we sound like we have a bigger team than we do when we're talking to a customer. Having 3 phones, one's Celine, one's Jim, and one's Alex, and they're all me. So it's you have to find ways to put yourself in the right position to be successful while also being honest. There's a fake it till you make it, but there's not a lie to get ahead. So, what I really want to share with you guys is building a business in college does not require you to drop out, but it does require you to be dedicated to what you're doing. I was not the academic that could build a business and be successful in school. I wasn't very successful in school in general. But building a business and get a grade that I was going to get, yelled at home was not going to happen. And so I was fortunate enough to have the support of my parents to do that, to leave school, which many people don't have the opportunity to do, which I definitely don't take for granted. But you have to be dedicated to what you're doing. If you're going to raise capital, whether it's a grant, an investor, when you have other people's money, that is the number one thing in your life, is not losing that. If you lose that money, raising your next round, raising your next business is going to be different. When capital hits your business, it's real. You now have, credibility, and you want to use that. Do as much as you can without raising capital. Raise the least amount of money that you can. 100% of a company in equity that's worth nothing is 0. 50% of a $10 million company will make you happier than 100% of a company that's sold for scraps. So don't worry about giving up the equity to build the team, to do things lean. I'm very anti Silicon Valley when it's raise growth capital and raise as much money as you can and blow it on engineering. You can do a lot with passionate people and small teams. And it's the most fun. It's the most fun when you get a group of people doing things that they love together, that they're passionate about. But in the lookup mindset, I really would encourage all of you, as I'm sure I'm out of time, I would really encourage all of you to think really hard about how you work. Because I can tell you, towards the end of Ulingo, when we found the most success, I was waking up early and I stopped working at a certain point. Now, of course, you're building a startup. You're going to have to do things. You're going to work 100-hour weeks. You're going to work 200-hour weeks. Or you're going to do everything you need to be successful. You're not going to sleep. You're not going to eat. You're going to be stressed. Relationships will get hurt. All of this stuff will happen. You can't control it. But it's about the intention of how you want to work and how do you feel after you get that done. And so I would just encourage you as much as I can to not buy into the hustle porn mindset that you have to be working to be an entrepreneur. You have to have carry a briefcase and wear a tie. I'm dress nicely for sure and always be appropriate, but you don't have to do anything to be an entrepreneur. If you're passionate about what you're doing, you want to solve a problem and do it in a different way, then you're an entrepreneur. and be passionate about what you do and build that business. And then people like LookUp and all of the community members here are going to be there supporting you, because that's the only way you'll get ahead is with the right network. So anyway, I'm sure that's too much time, and I'm vamping. And as Julie said, you know, working on other ventures. I have another company that's launching today, and my phone's screaming at me. So yeah, and for myself, if, you know, I advise a lot of companies, very early stage, and you know, or not that early stage, but you know, invest in some companies now, and just, you know, would love to support you guys in any way that I can, connect you in my network. And I know LookUp already does an incredible job of that. So if you have any other questions, we'd love to hear them if we have any time. Otherwise, feel free to reach out. And congratulations on everything that you're doing so far. It's really incredible.
Man, I want to start a bunch of companies because you have like so much energy and inspiration. This is cool. How do you not want to start a company after listening to you? It's fantastic. Fantastic. Hey, we have the floor. We can take one or two questions, I think. I put some, anybody brave enough to ask Alex a question? I saw Mark. We haven't heard from you. Mark is, Nordstrom is a legal type. Mark, are you hearing me? Am I going to embarrass you if I call on you? I know he perked up when you started speaking, Alex. I don't know, Mark, if you had a question, or anyone else. I mean, raise your hand or jump in. We've got time.
Nelson has a question.
Oh, he does. Okay, go ahead, Nelson.
Hey, thanks. Brilliant presentation, Alex, and really appreciate like your transparency there. One question, very simple one. How do you decide on the name? How important is the name?
That's a great question. So it's funny. So the name Ulingo was designed around university lingo, language, and you know, we had some social elements to the business that what we realized weren't really going to drive any value. But we thought that our platform was going to be introducing a new way to communicate within a commercial environment on campus through these kind of peer-to-peer connections. Because the idea was you can build relationships through these peer-to-peer interactions with students. You know, somebody who's selling speakers and somebody who wants to buy speakers, the chance that they like the same music, they can communicate through our internal chat. And it was kind of a new way for them to communicate. So that was the lingo aspect. I'll be honest with you, some people like the name. We paid for that name. I couldn't think of one. And just so you know, the pitfalls of naming, we originally were called Pinboard U. Couldn't do it, couldn't get any trademarks. Then we were Scholars Ad, which I liked. But when you write out Scholars Ad, the scholars, the S, and the AD writes sad. And it ended up being Scholar Sad after we had done a logo and done everything. And then when you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. And we had to kind of emergency go to a new name. So anyway, we ended up hiring a branding firm through a friend of mine because we just couldn't think of anything. And that one was different. It had some underlying meaning to us. But names are important as you establish brand. I'd say in B2B, you can get away with a little bit more than B2C. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but
thanks very much, and best wishes with the new venture.
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Julie, you want to unmute yourself?
Oh, thank you, Susan. Thanks, guys. I realize we've run a little bit over time, but hopefully we're okay here. Mark, did you have a question? I didn't know if your hand was raised. If not, that's okay. You don't have to sing. No, we're good. Yeah, okay. Ahana, why don't you take your question, and then we're going to have to wrap up from there. First of all, Ahana, are you in India right now? I forgot that you're one of our long distance people right now, right? You are. We can't hear you. You have to turn up your thing. So it's the middle of the night for her, which is commitment. So go ahead and get your question in.
Okay, hi. Thank you for being here and inspiring us. Actually, you talked about marketing and being a marketing major. I wanted to know that whether effective marketing is, like, some people believe that effective marketing is more important, but some people believe that the product must market itself. So what do you believe in, like marketing or the product? What should an entrepreneur focus on and in order to sell?
Yeah, great. It's a great question. I think it does depend on your business, B2B to B2C. You know, great marketing should have a low cost to acquire a customer, and that's going to attribute to a scalable business model with scalable unit economics. So, but at the end of the day, if you have an incredible marketing campaign that leads to a crappy product, you'll get that user for sure, but they're not going to go back again. So I think the number one thing is to have a great product and a great product team. It doesn't mean that it has to be beautiful. It doesn't mean that it has to be perfect right out of the gate. As Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn says, if you're proud of your MVP, you've waited too long. So it's going to break. It's going to be ugly. You're going to have issues with it, but the product is going to retain that customer, and the marketing and effective marketing is going to really bring them in. But it does depend. I'd say marketing would have more of an impact on a B2C business than a B2B, because you can have really great salespeople with not much web presence and marketing presence and build a fairly large business. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Alex, I can't thank you enough for your time. You were amazing, and since we've met Alex, he's already helped us improve our own organization immensely, and that was just a few days ago when we met. So we deeply appreciate you and all that you're doing, and do wish you luck on your launch of your new organization today. I'm glad we could be a part of it in some way, and we'll stay in touch for sure.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, and just know that everybody would be clapping and cheering in a really loud way. That's the only one thing that the little silent golden handshakes don't quite put it there. But anyway, our final guest is and actually, Eugene, you and I haven't met and officially, but I've heard so much about you, and I've endless energy, and actually I'm gonna unpin. Let's go. Sorry. Endless energy, and so for those who don't know Eugene Krasinski, he's a professor at Dartmouth in design thinking, and it's really important to we wanted to bring in somebody who could really crystallize the importance of the way these students have approached their project design and research, and it's near and dear to LookUp's heart, because it's very much about really going to the people who need to benefit the most. So Eugene is going to talk to us about kind of just reflections of what we've heard today. He is not only a design thinking expert, he was also out of the Stanford D Lab, and he's an entrepreneur himself, co-founded Spark Truck, which is, maybe Eugene, you can tell us a little bit more about it, but it's a mobile, what he calls a makerspace on wheels, which traveled across the country to really inspire kids to think creatively, build things, break things, design things, and come up with some great ideas. So I want to turn the camera over to Eugene. Eugene, you just go ahead. I think if you just start speaking and I be quiet, you should join us. So thank you. Oh, there we are. Perfect.
Thanks, Julie. I'll keep this brief, just a couple of reflections and noticings as we wrap up our super fun event here. First thing I find myself thinking is, in this moment when you don't have to look very far to see all the various ways in which the world seems to be teetering on the brink of oblivion, or at least insanity, I'm not worried. And the reason I'm not worried is you guys. I think today is a pretty scary place and time, but the world that you are graduating into, the world that you are going to help create, is going to be a better one. And I know that for a fact because of what I've seen today. And I think the chief reason that I say that is, as I listen to all of your ideas, as I watch all of the projects unfold, all of them seem to be coming from a singular and really important place, and that place is empathy. In everything I saw today, all of you talked about how the project ideas came from a deep sense of empathy for the people you're designing for. And if all of you and if all of us just carry this empathy for those around us, empathy for our teammates, empathy for all the creatures that share the planet, and empathy for ourselves, then we can't help but to make the world a better place. Like, it won't be a choice. If we start with empathy in the way that I see all of you today doing, the world can only become a better and better place. I think as you are working on the important initiatives you're working on, one of the easiest, and Alex just described and illustrated this perfectly well, one of the easiest things to neglect is yourself, your sanity, your well-being. So going forward, my biggest hope and my biggest wish is that you practice what you preach, that you watch your own tech life balance, that you invest in your own calm, that you feed yourself lots of cookies and give yourself lots of stickers to brighten up your day. Because the world is going to be a better place and made so only by you guys, and only if you are capable, functioning, productive members of society. And it's really hard to be that if you are not healthy first. So do that thing that they tell you in airplanes and put your own mask on first. It may seem like a selfish act, but in fact, it is absolutely the opposite. The world needs you to be healthy. The world needs you to be well. And if you start there, and if you start by building empathy for yourself and for others, I'm just going to keep leaning back and not worrying about what's happening around us. Thank you so much for everything you guys are doing, and thank you so much for everything you're going to continue to do.
Beautiful words. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over to Susan, who's going to wrap us up and say thank you.
Yes.
All of you.
So Eugene, I'm going to have Sarah Morgan, who's the head of experiential learning at Dartmouth College, just say quick things, because many people don't know that we started with Magnuson Center for Entrepreneurship through these pitch competitions, and when we brought in Eugene and design thinking, that's where this real marriage of the whole process came together. So I've been so grateful to be to have LookUp.live incubated by Magnuson Center with advice from design thinking. So Sarah, I would love for you to just say a couple of words, and then I'll move on.
Sure. As Eugene said, it's actually been quite inspiring listening to all of the solutions that these student teams have come up with. Wow, I'm really excited. What makes me especially excited is the fact that this is the beginning. You are the inaugural group, and I want to thank Julie and Susan for bringing us all together for this LookUp.live showcase. It's been wonderful and such an honor to get to know them. And when we did the design-a-thon at the Magnuson Center, it was great fun, and also a number of the teams are actually present here, which is exciting. So good luck to all of you. Keep up the good work. As Eugene said, follow your own advice, and we're all here to support you. And thank you so much again for just a great way to spend an afternoon in New England.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. And thank you from the bottom of our hearts to all of you who've helped us, make this transition from our physical summit to this virtual showcase. Randy and Adam from Keiretsu Forum, Sarah, Eugene, Jamie Coughlin, Sam Carpenter from Magnuson Center for Entrepreneurship and Dartmouth College, our great guest commentators, Harry, Kana, Laura, Sam, and Anne. It's really been wonderful. So the question then becomes, what's next? So this whole group is coming together in our virtual LookUp incubator. They will be with us for the next 6 months. And so an ask for you, if you are a guest speaker, if you would like to lead a seminar, if you would like to be involved as a mentor, as an advisor, those introductions to the technical people and engineers, and anything you would like to volunteer toward these LookUp Innovators. Again, you have your gold sheet, but I'm also going to ask for your support, volunteers, partners for LookUp.live, because we ourselves are only 8 months old as a fledgling nonprofit startup. So again, we have all sorts of roles for many of you. A real specific ask is university partners and introductions. So we are beginning to look towards our fall grant competitions. We'd love to have many more universities involved. So if your alma mater, if you work for one of the universities, know someone in the entrepreneurship centers, social innovation, design thinking, that would be fantastic. And high schools, we don't want to forget about our middle school and high schools. We have a prototype of a mini design-a-thon called an Idea-thon that we had planned to bring to Concord Carlisle High School, but COVID-19 got in the way. But we have that in place as well. So any help would be greatly appreciated. And then I have to do a shout out to my amazing executive director, Julie Barrett O'Brien. When Alex talked about co-founders, when you don't want each other's job, boy, Alex, you just described Julie's and my partnership, and I think it's why it works so incredibly well, seamless. And I am filled with an enormous amount of gratitude, Julie, for all the work that you've done with us. And I think that's it, unless there's any other comments or thoughts. Great, so we'll be following up, and again, please fill out those gold sheets, and we are here to accept any advice, support, connections to our innovators, but also to us, and thank you.
Can I just say one thing to all our innovators? Great job, guys. Take a deep breath. I know some of you are in the middle of finals right now. God bless you. And so we'll be back in touch. Take the weekend off, and I'll get back to you on Monday. So sorry for the amazing number of emails, but great job. Really proud of you all, and looking forward to working with you over the next 6 months. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Thanks, Carly.
Thank you,
University of
everyone.
Arizona and University of San Diego. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.